All right, well, good evening, everyone, and thanks so much for tuning in here on the broadcast on the Mayhem Broadcast Network, MaconMayhem.com, our website for any ticket information. If you're interested in coming to a future game, we've got a few more in February, but tonight the game on hand is the Mayhem versus the Pensacola Ice Flyers, the 37th game of the 2018-19 regular season. Alex Von Cordo, the voice of your Macon Mayhem, happy to have you with us here on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. SPHL Live, powered by New Line and on YouTube. If you're tuned in from the Pensacola side, welcome into the broadcast, folks. We're so glad to have you with us. Well, it should be an interesting one here. Both teams tonight shorthanded. Both of them have had their struggles of late. Both of them missing some very critical pieces, either due to call-ups to the ECHL or to injury. Both categories really plaguing both teams recently. And for the Mayhem, the good news for them is that they're getting one of those pieces back. Last weekend against the Peoria Rivermen in their first three-game home series of the campaign, they lost one of their most important pieces in Jake Trask to injury. They also lost Larry Smith to injury with a lower body injury. He will be out for this weekend as well. So will Trask. Levesque has not returned to health yet, nor has Jimmy Soper. So lots of critical components still not in order or in the lineup tonight for the Mayhem. The good news, folks, Dakota Kletcha has come back. And even though those four other players we mentioned are still out, this is one great piece of news for the Mayhem. Dakota Kletcha is a veteran forward. He's making a long-anticipated return to action after missing half of the current season with a wrist injury. He's now missed as many games as he played in, missing exactly 18, the same number of games he played before sustaining that injury. When he went down, Kletcha was tied with Trask for the team lead in goals. He contributed 17 points to the Mayhem in the 18 games he played, 9 goals and 8 assists. Even after all this time with the injury, he still leads, still got more points than anyone on Pensacola's roster. So that shows you what he was able to do in such a short amount of time. Dakota Kletcha, he was really on fire. He was on a 4-game point streak when the injury happened. So his return has been long anticipated and long overdue. And the Mayhem, really there's no way to sugarcoat it, folks. They're just ecstatic to have number 27 back in the fold tonight. It'll be an enormous lift to the Mayhem Spirits, who are severely shorthanded tonight as it is. It's Mascot night at the Macon Centreplex. Kevin from the Macon Bacon is here. So is Toby the Bear from Mercer University. Lots of others around the Coliseum I'm seeing tonight. They're going to be playing in a Mascot broomball game in the first intermission of tonight's game. The second intermission, of course, being our customary Chuck-a-Puck presented by Kroger. The Chuck-a-Puck jackpot is all the way up to $2,000 at Kroger. So somebody, hopefully soon, will be getting have a very happy day if they can manage to hit the bullseye and win that Kroger Chuck-a-Puck lottery at some point soon. But let's take a look at what happened the last time the Mayhem were out. Last Saturday night, hosting the Peoria Rivermen, their first 3-game home series of the season. Injuries severely undermanned the Mayhem in their sweep to Peoria. The timing of that 3-game home series really couldn't have been too much worse. Those games had been circled on Leo Thomas's calendar for a while, folks. He was really looking forward to facing the Peoria Rivermen. He had not done that all season. And actually, Pensacola had faced them right before they trekked north to take on the Mayhem in Macon. Pensacola managed to do more than the Mayhem could in their 3-game home series. The Ice Flyers not only won a game, but also took them to extra time twice. So Pensacola ended up with 3 points out of 6 against Peoria, which is an accomplishment not to be taken lightly. The Mayhem couldn't get a single point, though they were close several times. They actually led by multiple goals on Saturday, and for the first time all season went into the third period with a lead and didn't come out on top. So Peoria really showing what they were made of, and showing that they were not just where they are in the standings due to the lack of challenging opponents, but they're actually a real, true force to be reckoned with. Taking a look at the matchup, Macon has not squared off against the Flyers yet in the new year. At the end of 2018, the Mayhem and the Ice Flyers squared off 3 times in a row to close Macon's 6-game homestand out back on December 15th, 21st, and 22nd. Macon defeated Pensacola on all 3 of those occasions. On the campaign, the Mayhem have earned a 4-0-2 record against the Ice Flyers, outscoring them 19-11 throughout those 6 tilts. However, the Ice Flyers have been steadily improving since they last clashed with Macon. Pensacola swept Birmingham on the road 3 weeks ago and took 3 points of a possible 6 against Peoria at the end of last month. Veteran SPHLer Jason Price was acquired not long ago. He'll be sporting the number 12 defenseman tonight for Rod Aldoff and the Ice Flyers. He's somebody with just loads and loads of experience in this league, more than anyone else on either team tonight. Jason Price started his career in the SPHL in the 06-07 season with the Columbus Cottonmouths. Since then, he's played for the Richmond Renegades, the Augusta Riverhawks, the Knoxville Ice Bears, and now the Pensacola Ice Flyers. So talk about somebody with experience. He's already an alternate captain, despite having only played a handful of games now, with 7 under his belt for the Pensacola Ice Flyers. So number 12 in white will be somebody worth watching tonight. And the return of Matt Johnson, which was a little while ago. That was about a month ago, but the Mayhem have not seen Matt Johnson since their last trip down to Pensacola. He was the star of that game, got the game-winning goal in the shootout, and had the lone regulation goal as well. So number 10 will also be a player worth keeping an eye on tonight. So just like the Mayhem, the Flyers have endured lots of ECHL call-ups. Brandon Rumble, the defenseman, earlier this week went up to Norfolk, the Admirals, with Brentley Sherwood, who was atop of the team in scoring, second in the team in scoring when he got called up. So Sherwood and Rumble will be missed by the Ice Flyers. Tonight's game will be featuring two sides playing substantially shorthanded. We're going to take a pause on the Mayhem Broadcast Network, and we'll hear from the Mayhem assistant coach, Ryan Michael, in just a moment. Keep it right here, folks. You're listening to Macon Mayhem Hockey on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. Hey, welcome back to our pregame show, everyone. We're so glad you decided to join us tonight on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. You're listening to Macon Mayhem Hockey on SPHL Live, powered by Newline and on YouTube. Hope you've enjoyed the pregame show up till this point. I had the chance to catch up with Mayhem assistant coach Ryan Michael. Coach, first off, appreciate your time and thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Now, what were some of the takeaways from our first 3-game homestand of the series against the Peoria Rivermen last week? Thought there were a lot of really closely contested, hard-fought games, especially at the end.
Yeah, I think we battled. Obviously, last weekend we were shorthanded to begin with, and then some injuries early on in the first game put us a little bit behind. But I think definitely Friday and Saturday our compete level was there, and unfortunately we didn't get points or didn't find a way to come out on top. But I was definitely proud.
A 2-0 lead. The first time all season this past weekend that the Mayhem entered the third period with a lead, didn't come out on top. So Peoria's stick-to-itiveness was just really in full swing last weekend and put on full display. But you mentioned injuries, Coach, and I want to mention a player who's coming back from injury, a long 18-game hiatus for Dakota Kletcha. He's finally back. He's now missed as many games as he played in this season. But what sort of impact do you think he'll make in his return to action here tonight?
Well, we're excited to have him back. I think he's a bit of a spark plug. He's a smaller guy, but he plays with grit. He's fast, offensively skilled. I think he was one of the top offensive guys before he went out, which is something we've been lacking a little bit lately with injuries. So definitely excited to have him back to give us a little shot in the arm.
Yeah, he was. He was tied with Jake Trask for the team lead in goals when he went down. So having him back will be an enormous lift for the Mayhem, who have been especially short in the offensive categories of late with all these injuries going on. Some of the other players who will be out tonight, Larry Smith, Justin Levac, Jake Trask, Jimmy Soper, none of them are in the lineup. How does that change sort of the keys to performing well when the team is so shorthanded and undermanned like it is now?
I think it's just playing simple and playing intelligently. Obviously, again, it's another weekend where we'd like to have more bodies than we have. So I think it's about, playing smart, getting pucks in behind D, and then kind of winning the war of attrition over the course of 60 minutes. And that's kind of our key. When we turn the puck over and, we're forced to backjack and play D on our end all the time, by the third period it gets a little tiring. So I think playing a sound game in terms of positionally throughout the ice will help us over the course of the game.
Yeah, and fortunately for the Mayhem, they're playing against another team that's pretty severely undermanned themselves in the Pensacola Ice Flyers. Okay, welcome back, folks. Well, sorry for that abrupt interruption of the pregame interview with Mayhem assistant coach Ryan Michael. We'll get back to it later, don't you fear. We'll play it back during the first intermission of tonight's game because we had to cut it short, unfortunately. We're a bit ahead of schedule here, so we're going to get right to starting lineups. The Pensacola Ice Flyers starting lineups are as follows. They're going with Brian Billett in net, who's been one of the best goaltenders in the SPHL this season. Nathan Bruyere on defense alongside Jesse Kessler. They've been with Pensacola all season long. Daniel Perigo up front with Brett DeAndrea and Tim Moore are the starting lineups for Rada Aldoff and company. Mac skating up the left half wall, really excited for the festivities tonight on Mascot night. He's going to be one of the stars of the show. Along with Kevin from the Macon Bacon, Toby the Bear from Mercer University, and the rest of his friends as Max celebrates his 4th birthday today. The Mayhem starting lineups are as follows. Nick Minerva gets the nod to start on the right point. He's played in 34 games for the Mayhem this season, tallied 9 assists, is now tied for second on the Mayhem in penalty minutes this season behind only Alexander Tallien, who has leapfrogged into 4th in the SPHL leaderboards. Jarrett Cupp starting on Minerva's left side, earned an assist on Seymour's goal on Saturday to get the Mayhem on the board. And Caleb Cameron, the RIT grad, will be centering the Mayhem starting line. Cameron took 3 trips to the sin bin 1 week ago, has embraced Jimmy Soper's hard-hitting role extremely well in Soper's absence. On his flank, Sean Reynolds, the ex-Elmira enforcer. He's really taken a liking to his new spot on the Mayhem's roster. And Dakota Klecha, the long-anticipated return, gets a raucous round of applause here at the Macon Centreplex as he skates out and gives a few fist bumps to his line mates tonight. Ian Silvis, the man between the pipes, the Buffalo State product, going up against a goaltender with whom he's competed with for the majority of this season. They've been right around fourth and fifth, basically competing for 4th place in the SPHL in terms of save percentage, goals against average. So Billett and Silvis have both been 2 of the stronger goaltenders in the SPHL this season, and they're squaring off against one another tonight. The Mayhem have won 3 straight games against the Ice Flyers in this building. They're in jeopardy of dropping their 5th straight in regulation, which has never happened in franchise history. The Mayhem must get a point tonight to prevent that from happening. Fortunately for them, of late, their games against Pensacola have gone fairly well. The Mayhem season series record against Pensacola is 4-0-2. The singing of our country's national anthem will be next. And from Centerville United Methodist Church, Cameron Ramo will be back in a moment, folks. Well, Cameron Ramo, an excellent job singing our national anthem. Ramo from Centerville United Methodist Church. Lots of groups in attendance here tonight, enjoying this Friday night tilt. Lots of smaller groups, but groups nonetheless who are able to take advantage of the Mayhem's group experience upgrade outing. There's the Smith family, Doug's family, New City Church, Women's Healthcare, Bethesda Baptist of Dublin, Centerville United Methodist, Michael Marcoux and his friends celebrating a birthday, Howard Middle School teachers, Randy Wood's birthday party, Emmanuel Baptist, Georgia College Freshly, Support Equipment and Vehicles, all sorts of groups enjoying tonight's tilt. The Mayhem's 37th game of the 2018-19 regular season just about to be underway. The Ice Flyers right now in dire need of points. They are fighting for the 8th and final playoff spot in the SPHL standings. Right now they've got a 3-point edge on the Quad City Storm in their inaugural season. Again, tonight's starting lineups, folks, in case you missed them, are as follows. Brian Bullitt between the pipes for Rod Aldoff and the Ice Flyers. Nathan Bruyere on defense with Jesse Kessler on his right. Daniel Perigo, Tim Moore, and Brett DeAndrea for Pensacola. Countered by Caleb Cameron at center for Macon, who's got Dakota Klecha making his long-anticipated return to action on his right flank. Sean Reynolds on his left. Nick Minerva, Jarrett Cupp, the Blue Liners starting for Leo Thomas and the Mayhem tonight. And in between the pipes for Macon, Ian Silvis, who is hoping tonight to get his 9th win on the campaign. The referee for tonight's game is Stephen Hoshaw. The linesmen are Rocco Stachowiak and Chase Wilkinson. The puck drops and we are underway. Jesse Kessler swings it up towards the blue line. Dakota Klecha batted it out of midair with a high stick and immediately gets a touch on the puck. That was some superb hand-eye coordination displayed by the Mayhem's number 27, Dakota Klecha. I spoke with him before this game started. You'll hear from Dakota in the first intermission of tonight's game in the interview. And I told him that one of the things that the Mayhem missed from him undoubtedly was his hand-eye coordination and his net front presence. He's excellent at deflecting pucks, as he just put on display there. As Nick Minerva has some trouble with it. Backhand shot from the slot is denied by Silvas, whose first save of the game was a dandy, able to kick it away with the left pad to deny Daniel Perigo of his 3rd goal of the season. Now the puck's picked up by Cameron at center, who accelerates and dumps it wide of Brian Billett's cage. Inside of the trapezoid, he's just barely able to whack it away as it's skated out by Nathan Bruyere, who's played a lot of forward and defense throughout his SPHL career. He will chip it in behind Macon's net. Ian Silvis leaving it now for Jarrett Cupp. 50 seconds have expired, no score. Ian Silvis with the lone save of this game, and it was a pretty good one on Daniel Perigo with his left pad. Cupp splits it right up the middle of the ice. It's left from Seamer to Sutliff. Now here comes Chimello dropping it back to Seamer, whose pass into the slot was intended for Sutliff. It never reached him as it was picked off by Pensacola and cleared out to center. It's the first time we've seen, in this building at least, this season, where we've seen Pensacola's white sweaters. The last few times they were here, they were either wearing their road navies or their alternates, their powder blue alternates. Seamer takes a whack at it. It goes back up to the left point. Leadsman keeps it in the zone. It's cycled below the net. Andrew Schmidt's pass is picked off. Andrew Schmidt currently on a 3-game goal-scoring streak, one of the players to watch tonight for the Mayhem. We'll get to the rest momentarily as Seamer slips around a check beautifully as he carries down the right side. His pass, he was hoping for Tallene. It was well behind him, and here come the Flyers on the counterattack. A 2-on-2 develops as swerving his way across the blue line is Gavin Yates, who has his pocket picked by Cupp at the last moment. Excellent stick check, but the Mayhem are not out of the woods yet as it's reversed from Marcoux, who sends it over in the direction of Lapine. The Mayhem got their sticks in the way of that pass, and Jarrett Cupp from the Mayhem logo at center will pass it into himself as his teammates complete a line change. Jarrett Cupp, the defenseman, I might remind you, all the way behind Pensacola's net as the Ice Flyers regain control and will settle things down behind their own cage. Ryan Devine's got it now. Check that. Devine, I beg your pardon. Devine playing in his 8th game this season. While down, he was able to clear it out. Nice play, and the Mayhem will start it back the other direction. Seth Ronsberg playing at center tonight. He gains a step, takes it in the corner on the far side. It's reversed back up the wall near the K1 dasher boards as Tallene goes tumbling awkwardly into the Margaritas Mercer Village dasher board. As Pensacola again with control in the neutral zone from the red line. It's dumped in behind Silvas' net. He will come out to play it. And Nick Minerva, who will turn 23 years old in 4 days, next Tuesday, February 12th, has it behind his own goal. In the F1 position is Brett DeAndrea leading the forecheck for Pensacola. Flung up from Minerva from behind his own cage to Sean Reynolds, who's had to embrace a left wing role with the shortage of natural left wingers for the Mayhem, as a shot from Cameron is turned aside by Brian Billett. If I'm not mistaken, that's his first save of this tilt. With Stathis Sumalitis up in Florida with the Everblades and Caleb Cameron having to shift over to the center position from the left wing. There have not been a lot of natural left wingers to spare for Leo Thomas and the Mayhem, as a shot from Cup is snagged by Billett. We get a whistle stopping play. Taking a look at who's hot and who to watch. John Seamer for Macon, who's had 14 points in his last 10 games. He was our nominee for Player of the Month. Unfortunately, he did not get it, but Ben Blasco of Peoria also had a heck of a month too. He ended up winning it. Derek Sutliff, 12 points in his last 10 games, 7 goals, 5 assists. And Dakota Klecha was on a 4-game point streak before his injury. Also a player to watch tonight for the Mayhem. Playing in his first game after missing 18, which was the exact same number of games he played in before the injuries. Matt Johnson from the right side, centering it to the tail gunner. Schmidt goes through him. A blast from the point by Bruyere is off the mark. Schmidt sends it on net through lots of bodies. It's kicked away by the right pad of Ian Silvis, and out with it comes Klecha, and from the red line he will send it into the zone. Bounces wide of Brian Billett's cage, and Billett will drop it, and it's cleared up ice by Jason Price. Bazovic's intercepting and dropping it nicely for Seamer. He knew the Mayhem were on a delayed offside. They enter the zone. It's whacked away from Seamer. Backhanded in on net. Silvis to play it to his right for Taylor Love. He will dish it behind his own net. Kristaps Bazovic is pickpocketed by Gavin Yates. Yates will send it in. It goes beneath the goal line. Love is first to it as he will rattle it around the boards out to the near side. Taylor Love's overskates it. Robert Lapine stick handling away from Love now and coming away with possession of the puck near the far wall. John Seamer picks his pocket and flutters one up ice. It squeaks between a pair of Ice Flyers defensemen. Derek Sutliff getting there first, trying to sell an interference call against Leedsman, and Stephen Hoshaw kept his arm down. Bazovic's a DDD pass over to Nick Minerva. It's returned for Bazovic. He will angle it off the boards just outside of the reach of Sutliff. Brett DeAndrea flutters one along the blue line. It's collected by Daniel Perigo, who's sized up by Tallene. Unable to move it. Bazovic does some damage control, hoists it off the glass. Jesse Kessler's got it near his own blue line. He will send one horizontally over onto his left in front of the Macon bench, and Daniel Perigo carries it across the Macon blue line. Zach Urban one-hands it deep into his own zone, and the ex-Toledo Walleye able to work it to Nick Minerva. Caligiuri's pass deflects off of a Pensacola stick. Brian Billett shovels it along for Jesse Kessler. Kessler will work it up to Tim Moore, who's got it on his blade now as he skates in across the blue line, swerves wide down the right wing side, closely defended by Cup. Goes off Cup's stick, who will whack it into the corner now on the near side of the ice. The Mayhem on a delayed penalty upcoming here as Brian Billett scurries to the Pensacola bench. It's worked along the half wall and carried back out to center by Tim Moore. He's going to just play a little keep away here as the Ice Flyers are on an infinite 6-on-5 power play until the Mayhem can get their sticks on this puck. It's overskated at center by Johnson. Caligiuri is able to take advantage, but the Mayhem to the penalty kill for the first time tonight. This Mayhem penalty kill will be brought to you by J&J's Heating and Air Conditioning, but first we're going to take a brief pause on the Mayhem Broadcast Network as we've got a media timeout upcoming. Folks, keep it right here on SPHL Live, powered by New Lion and on YouTube.
This season, the Mayhem are offering a great group package. Whether you're a school, a church, a company, or just a group of friends, give the Mayhem office a call and we'll set you up with an incredible group deal. From $13 tickets to free team hats to a unique experience upgrade of your choosing, the Mayhem have got you and your group covered. Call our office at 478-803-1592 to purchase your group tickets to a Mayhem game today.
The Mayhem on the PK this season had a pretty good showing against Peoria in the penalty kill department, considering how much time they had to log on it. They went to the PK 6 times on Thursday, 4 times on Friday, 9 times on Saturday. That's a total of 19 penalty kills. The Mayhem managed to kill off 16 of them, which isn't too bad. On the season, the Mayhem ranking 7th in the PK department, 79.3% conversion rate. Pensacola on the power play, 16.9%, also 7th, as Leedsman from the deep slot feeds it to his left. Schmidt cycles it up to the point. Matt Johnson's got it above the left circle. His wrister is blocked by the other 10, Caleb Cameron. Johnson again. Leedsman unleashes it one-timer. It skitters wide. Took a redirect off of Schmidt's skates and pinballed into the corner harmlessly, and out with it skates Vinny Caligiuri, who's heavily outnumbered as he takes a check from Andrew Schmidt. Pensacola recovers, but Caligiuri was able to fight off some valuable seconds off of the Ice Flyers' power play. Leadsman gives it to Price, and across the blue line it goes as Schmidt will dump it into the right corner. Cleared up the wall by Jarrett Cupp. He got rid of it before taking a big check by Matt Johnson, and now Marcuse will swing it down to the half wall, and it's sent up to the blue line now for a wrist shot by Price. That was blocked by Sutliff. It went into the corner on the far side of the ice. Marcuse hacking and whacking for it against Caleb Cameron, who's been one of the Mayhem's top penalty killers all season. Up to the blue line, it's sent. Chris Leadsman delays at that big long reach. He didn't take a slap shot this time as it pinballs near a lot of bodies in front of the Macon net. They're able to clear it. The Navy Sweaters getting the job done. 45 seconds remain on the penalty called against Seth Ronsberg, as Bruyere will return the pass over to Gavin Yates. Excuse me, that's Jesse Kessler. And Kessler starting it down the right wall. Sends a pass over in front of his own bench. A near stick check by John Seamer. He might have had a shorthanded breakaway, but here comes DeAndrea driving to the forehand, stopped by Silvas. Excellent pad save. The Mayhem keep this game scoreless with time winding down on Pensacola's power play. It's flung out past Kessler by Billett, collected by Perigo. He slides one up onto his left. Bruyere is offside, and the whistle blows. 11:59 to play in the first period. No score yet between the Mayhem and the Ice Flyers. 8 seconds remaining on Pensacola's power play. Seth Ronsberg standing in the Macon penalty box. There will be a neutral zone draw in front of the Macon bench. Alexander Tallien is countered by Brett DeAndrea, the latter of whom wins the face-off as it skitters back into Pensacola territory. Brett DeAndrea, 25-year-old rookie, Bowling Green University grad in his first SPHL season. Slid up hotly onto the tape there of Tim Moore, who starts in across the blue line, goes wide and fires it wide of the right post. Nick Minerva had him covered pretty well. And out with it skate the Mayhem as Ronsberg leads the charge up the gut and will take it onto the right circle area and fire a shot that missed the right post. Caligiuri spins it rink wide. Tallien hammers a slap shot that's well off the mark at next to no margin of error there as Nick Minerva will double back into his own zone, scooping it up and flinging it out to center ice. Alex Tallien is in across the blue line and will deposit it into the left corner. Ronsberg is first there. Tallien delivers a check. Ronsberg able to spring the puck loose. Tallien's centering attempt is intended for Caligiuri, or rather Reynolds. It didn't reach him. And Nathan Bruyere starting things behind his own goal. Begins off to his left. Bruyere through his own zone. Gives it to Kessler. It's redirected into Macon territory. Steered aside by Silvas. He had no choice. It was on net. Might have been an icing had it not been. Now it's jostled free in the corner by Ryan Marcuse, who spins it in front. Backdoor attempt, and it was sent off the side of the net. Close call for Pensacola. It was Robert Lapine coming oh so close to getting on the board for the Ice Flyers. Just missed his chance. Excuse me, that was Gavin Yates with the opportunity. Lapine will drop it for Yates, whose shot is blocked by Reynolds. The clearing attempt also blocked by Reynolds. That one was unintentional. Now Jarrett Cupp will begin down the left wing side and send it into the left corner. Dakota Kletcha goes in, hunting the puck. Scooped up by Chris Leadsman, turned over. Cameron centers. Kletcha is in tight, left it for Cameron, whose shot is blocked. Close opportunity for Dakota Kletcha as Bazovic keeps in the zone and fires a wrister, fought off by the shoulder of Brian Billett. And it's been cleared all the way down, just wide of the net. That will be an icing called against Pensacola. The Mayhem catch a break. That puck was just inches wide. Oh, the Ice Flyers catch a break too. So that's a Tropical Smoothie Cafe icing call, and if had it happened 1 or 2 seconds earlier, there would not have been a media timeout called. Instead, Pensacola gets a chance to rest some tired bodies out there, and the Mayhem will still get an offensive zone faceoff out of it, but the Flyers will be better rested. Brian Billett for the Ice Flyers this season ranks 4th in save percentage in the SPHL at .921. And ranks 4th also in goals against average, or tied for 3rd with Maverick Parks at 2.48 through 19 games played for the Ice Flyers this season. Ian Silvas trailing closely behind him in virtually every category. Billett's been one of the one of the consistent pieces for Rod Aldoff so far this season. He's been a constant for him through a season of, I don't want to say turmoil, but lots of players moving up and down. A season where the Ice Flyers were hoping to be quite ahead of where they are in the standings right now. And like the Mayhem, they have endured lots of injuries and lots of ECHL call-ups. Zach Urban's clearing attempt up the wall, never reached Klecha, kept in the zone at the blue line by Jesse Kessler, whose wrister is blocked by Kristaps Bazovic. Kessler sending it to Schmidt. Andrew Schmidt up to Kessler, whose one-timer is steered aside by Bazovic's skate. We're halfway through period one now. No score between the Mayhem and the Ice Flyers as it's sent up to Dakota Klecha, who will start it out of his own zone. He swivels his way down the left wing side. Klecha trying to gain some speed as he one-hands it on net save. Seamer with the rebound, takes a slap shot. It's steered aside by Brian Billett and shuffleboarded along from Reynolds down to Seamer. In the meantime, Klecha heads to the Macon bench. His replacement is Michael Chimella, who gets in on the forecheck, tries to spring the puck loose. His line mates are in the midst of a change at the moment. Kessler will just loft it out. It's going to go on net. Silvis has to make a play on it, so no icing. 8:48 to go. No score between the Mayhem and the Ice Flyers here in period one. Cup dropping it back to Minerva, who will send it right back to him. Cup's pass towards the opposing blue line is interrupted by Brett DeAndrea, who gains the Macon blue line and will leave it back to Tim Moore. Moore is pickpocketed along the sideboards now in front of the penalty boxes. DeAndrea receives the pass from Perigo, takes it down his off wing near the right circle. DeAndrea, an attempted toe drag, is snuffed out by Minerva, who takes him into the corner on the near side. John Seamer, in the meantime, scoops it up and skates out to the neutral zone, flings it to his left. Derek Sutliff with a wrist shot is stopped by Brian Billett. Puck is skittering around near the K1 dasher boards, cleared up to the Pensacola bench area. Tim Moore, leaving it on a platter, carried across the blue line by Bruyere, whose shot is snagged by Ian Silvis with the glove. 8:01 to play in the first, no score. Ian Silvis, Brian Billett have both been perfect so far in this game. Won't be a busy a couple of weeks for the Mayhem on the home game front at least. They will head to Pensacola tomorrow to take on the Ice Flyers at the tail end of this home-and-home series. And then next weekend will make their first ever trip to Quad City to take on the Storm the day after Valentine's Day on Friday, February 15th. And Saturday, February 16th will be in Peoria, hoping for some revenge against the Rivermen at the Peoria Civic Center. Kristaps Bazovic near his own slot will put a diagonal pass in the wheelhouse of Alexander Tallien, who follows up with it rather near the Science Station logo on the ice. And Pensacola back in control now as Leedsman takes over and sends it up towards Yates, who redirects it into Macon territory. This will be an icing called by the linesman Chase Wilkinson. That icing call has been brought to you by Tropical Smoothie Cafe. The Mayhem do an offensive zone draw with 7:37 to go in period one. They're going to keep the same five skaters out there. Seth Ronsberg having no choice but to assume a center role tonight. The Mayhem very shy right now on centers and left wingers with Levesque and Soper being injured. So Zach Urban pries it free and springs Seth Ronsberg on a potential 3-on-2, but Cousineau hustles back to back check, and now it's Tallien on the right side from the circle. Snapped his shot off. It sailed over the shoulder of Billett. Back to get it now in his own zone is Nick Minerva. Tallien's taken a few of those sharp angle bids. Hasn't been too far off on them as Cousineau cuts off the clearing attempt and shoots off the end boards. He missed the shot as he gets wrapped up, it looked like, for a second with his own teammate Marcuse, who falls down below the Macon cage. Sent around to the left point. Nathan Bruyere down to Marcuse. Ryan Marcuse back up to the point. Bruyere's got it near the Apparel Authority dasher board, and now Minerva will cut it off with Cousineau pinning him to the end boards. Urban takes his man off the puck. Minerva, Urban, Ronsberg all fighting for it. They work together to get it up to Alexander Tallien, who will skate it out to neutral territory. He's able to gain the red line before chipping it in. He will now head to the Mayhem bench. One of the three keys of tonight's game for Macon was keeping shifts short with the amount of injuries, call-ups, and whatnot. Both of these teams playing pretty severely undermanned. They've got no choice but to keep the shifts short to get as many fresh bodies out there as possible throughout the night. Jason Price's clearing attempt blocked by Sean Reynolds. Bounces out into neutral territory. Jarrett Cupp has got it. He will swing it D to D for Taylor Love. It's been an evenly played first period thus far through the first 14 minutes of action. Dakota Kletches called on an offside. We get a whistle stopping play. The Mayhem's next home game, folks, will be a Thursday night tilt against the Evansville Thunderbolts, which is the second Thursday night tilt we've had all season, our first home game against Evansville all season. For tickets, you can visit the Mayhem website, maconmayhem.com, or you can visit the box office right here at 200 Coliseum Drive. Neutral zone faceoffs going to take place in front of the Pensacola bench. It's won by the Ice Flyers and sent up towards Yates. Gavin Yates leaving it. Robert Lapine's got it. The ex-Peoria Riverman who started there this season, able to swivel his way around Caleb Cameron, and over the blue line skates Gavin Yates with it. Chases it down in the corner on the near side of the ice. He's watched by Kristaps Bazovics. Yates trying to shift one back up to the point. It's taken away by Sean Reynolds as Kletcha squeezes by a check, centers a backhand pass, and it's steered aside by Brian Billett, caught up in the air by Reynolds and reversed below the goal line. And out with it skates Pensacola. Ryan Marcuse has it as he races down the left wing side. He slips away from a couple of Mayhem, then fires a wrister, stopped by Silvas with the glove. Ryan Marcuse, a longtime Mississippi River King. He spent the past 4 seasons up there, where Leo Thomas ended his playing career. Marcuse had a hat trick in his first game against the Mayhem this season. It was the Mayhem's first game as well, their home opener. First meeting between these squads, Marcuse scored a hat trick. And now on the season leads all Ice Flyers in scoring with 16 points on the campaign. Held alive at the left point there by Ryan Devine, who will send it to the corner. They score on the one-time shot from Johnson, who let it rip from the bottom of the left circle. Just fired a one-timer quickly from the pass from the goal line to score his 5th goal of the season, his 10th point. And the Ice Flyers take a 1-0 lead. So the alternate captain for Rod Aldoff and the Ice Flyers coming up big in the early going at 14:53, scoring the first goal. The Mayhem last trek down to Pensacola to face the Ice Flyers down in the hangar. They were met by some real heroics by Matt Johnson. Scored the lone regulation goal and scored the game winner as well in the shootout as John Seamer waltzes his way down the right side. He's defended by Devine as Seamer wheels to the point with a pass for Jarrett Cup. Cup feeding it to Sutliff. Sutliff to Bazovics, who couldn't quite pull the trigger on the one-timer there. Seamer in the corner on the far side of the ice. He's watched by Devine as tries to work it to Chamello. Shoulder shimmy switches with Sutliff. Seamer dropping it now. Bazovic skates in. He fires. It's stopped and held by Brian Billett. So that was Jarrett Cup rather striding in down the right circle. We get a buzzer sound, so we've got our third and final media timeout of the first period. So we're going to take a brief pause on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. 1-0 Pensacola is your score, with Matt Johnson the lone goal scorer thus far.
Need to raise some money for your organization? Contact the Mayhem front office and we'll be happy to partner up with your group to help you fundraise for a cause. You buy tickets from us at $10, you sell them for $15, and then you keep the remaining $5 per ticket sold for whatever cause you like. Call our office at 478-803-1592 to set up a fundraiser for your organization today.
The Mayhem finding themselves trailing against Pensacola through the first 15-plus minutes of play. They went ahead of Peoria the last 2 times they played them and would actually lose both of those games. So recently the Mayhem have found themselves in this strange phenomenon where they're actually losing games in which they score the first goal. For the longest time they had been undefeated, and now they've lost the last 3 in a row after scoring the first goal. The Mayhem have gone on to lose the game. So maybe this will turn their fortunes around as a long clearing attempt from the Pensacola zone goes on net. Silvas will just cover it up for a whistle on a defensive zone draw. Brett DeAndrea to take the ensuing faceoff against Seth Ronsberg. Wilkinson drops the puck. It's Jason Price rattling it around the end boards. Alexander Tallien is first to it. He is met by Tim Moore on the far half wall. Tallien got it to Urban, who misplayed it, and DeAndrea tapping it along. It slides into the circle, and it's going to be scooped up and delivered for Bazovics by Ronsberg. Bazovics made a nice pass on the tape. Tallien is onside. He fires a hard, heavy wrister that sails over the crossbar, stays in play, goes past Tallien, back up to the point. The Flyers are out to center with it. Crisscrossing his way in across the blue line is Brett DeAndrea, whose shot is through a screen, stopped by Silvis, and the butterfly. Another shot fired at the net. It goes off the side of the cage and is covered by Silvis off of that carom on the end boards. Busy night in the SPHL. Everyone's in action this Friday. Roanoke hosting Birmingham in a scoreless tilt. Knoxville hosting Fayetteville, also a scoreless tilt. As far as we see, there hasn't been any scoring besides this one, in which the Flyers lead 1-0. Peoria hosting Quad City tonight. No score in that game. That's in the pregame yet. And Evansville also in the pregame festivities with the Huntsville Havoc up in southern Indiana tonight. Robert Lapine is being booted from the face-off circle. Ryan Marcoux steps in to take his place. Cameron is able to beat him on the draw. Taylor Love can't clear it past the circle, and a shot from Lapine trickles on net. It's stopped by Silvis. The Flyers really dictating the majority of play. They've had a lot of offensive zone time, consistent offensive zone time, and the Mayhem cannot say the same thing right now. Cameron for the second straight time winning the defensive zone face-off. Taylor Love cleared it directly over jumping Nathan Bruyere at the point. It'll be another icing called against Macon. That icing has been brought to you by Tropical Smoothie Cafe. 3:21 to go in the first period. The Ice Flyers lead 1-0. Matt Johnson, your lone goal scorer tonight. Both teams playing severely undermanned this evening, with 9 forwards and 5 defensemen for each squad. Earlier this week, the Norfolk Admirals plucked a couple of players off of Pensacola's roster. Brantley Sherwood, who's been a consistent scoring threat for Rod Aldoff and the Flyers this season, no longer here. He's in Norfolk, as is Brandon Rumble, the defenseman who was in Pensacola on a temporary basis from the ECHL. Taylor Love's clearing attempt fails, side of the net, redirected on goal, nice pass by Devine, redirected by Marcoux just wide. Marcoux salvages possession, gets the return from Leedsman in the adjacent corner on the near side of the ice. He's knocked down by Cup, but stays on the puck. Leedsman fed it wide of the net. It caroms off the corner right to Silvis, who snags it up with his glove. We're inside of 3 minutes to play in the first period. No score. 1-0 your score in favor of Pensacola this evening. The Mayhem wanting, of course, to score the first goal, but recently when they've done that, things haven't really shaken out for them. They were, for such a long chunk of time this season, they were 16-0 when scoring the first goal, but they've lost their last 3 games when that's happened. They're now 16-3. Behind the net, wraparound attempt, stick to side by Silvis, rebound out to Johnson, who turns and wires it just wide of the far side post. And it's played by Schmidt off the back of Johnson, bounces up in the air over the net, nearly took a strange bounce into the goal. Silva's fortunate that didn't happen. Now it's centered for Cousineau just outside of his reach as Seamer will skate it back the other way. From the red line, Seamer lays one ahead for Sutliff. Into the slot it is sent. Chimella was tripped up, but nothing was called. Floated out past Bazovics. Johnson with a step on Bazovics, who swatted it out of midair, no high stick. And the Latvian-born defenseman able to clear one up to Derek Sutliff. He will float one into the right corner and orders Michael Chimello to go get it. Chimello is first there as he will cycle it down past Sutliff. Squeaks out to the blue line, kept in the zone by Chimello. Working with it, Jarrett Cup, who mishandled it at the line, will have to retreat back out to center with it. Jarrett Cup is being pursued by Brett DeAndrea. He will get the return behind the net. Cup spins it back now to Zach Urban. And the Northern Michigan product has been quiet since his return from Toledo, hoping to find his stride at the Mayhem again tonight. Somebody who I'm sure is particularly excited about Dakota Kletch's return. The two of them pretty close off the ice. It's work down the right half wall into Macon territory. Cup hit pretty hard from behind by Brett DeAndrea, and it's lobbed out from behind the Macon net to Vinny Caligiuri on his off wing. He will skate it in across the blue line. And it eventually pinballs on net. Brian Billett cradling it in his glove. I say off wing, Vinny Caligiuri, not really a natural left winger, but he's had to play that role due to the Mayhem's shortage as a little scuffle takes place near Brian Billett's net. Guess who's right in the middle of it? Alexander Tallien. Tallien now ranks 4th in the entire SPHL in penalty minutes after he nearly broke a Mayhem franchise record last Saturday. He had 21 in one game. The only other time in history that somebody has done that was Dennis Sicard back in 2017, nearly 2 years ago. It was in a 4-3 win against the Birmingham Bulls in Birmingham. Sicard collected 24 PIMs in one night. Yates' pass just outside of the reach of Robert Lapine. Swatted at by Kletcha, kept in the zone by Lapine brilliantly, but eventually couldn't keep it any longer as Kletcha will race back in down the right wing side with a lot of speed. Sent one cross ice, nearly a tap-in goal for Reynolds, but it just missed his blade. And that's what the speed of Dakota Kletcha can do. Can create opportunities that wouldn't be otherwise possible. He will skate to the Macon bench. He's replaced by Michael Ciamello. Sean Reynolds begins the forecheck. It's flushed out into center ice. Robert Lapine in across the blue line. Couldn't stick handle away from Michael Ciamello, who begins the race with the Mayhem. Jarrett Cupp is a late man who fires it just wide of the right post. And now it's skated back the other way by Gavin Yates. His shot is sticked aside by Ian Silvas. Zach Urban shovels it out past his own blue line. Down into opposing territory. Nathan Bruyere is checked by Derek Sutliff. Jason Price had his pocket picked by Seamer. The Mayhem working hard on the forecheck here. Not managed to really create many scoring chances because of it. It's been cleared out, directly out of play by Andrew Schmidt, and so ends period 1. 1-0 your score in favor of the Pensacola Ice Flyers. Pretty even play for the most part, but I'd give the edge to Pensacola in terms of sheer zone time on attack in the offensive zone. The Mayhem didn't have quite as much of that, but they did have a few chances to score. Pretty good one at the end there in the last minute. Dakota Kletcha just racing past Chris Leedsman down the right side, gaining enough of a step to fling a cross-crease pass over to Sean Reynolds, who just couldn't tap it into a wide-open cage. But the right idea from Kletcha, and you're already starting to see some of the benefits of his return for the Mayhem. Well, folks, because we had that the pregame show cut short due to us being a little bit ahead of schedule. Puck drop scheduled for 7:35. It happened more around 7:30 or 7:31. So we had to cut the Ryan Michael pregame interview a little bit short, but no worries. We'll play it back for you so you can hear it in its entirety, after which we'll play Dakota Kletcha's interview, as he's somebody who's very excited for his first game back after missing the last 18 for the Mayhem. That and more coming your way next. You're listening to Macon Mayhem Hockey on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. Okay, welcome back to our pregame show, everyone. We're so glad you decided to join us tonight on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. You're listening to Macon Mayhem Hockey on SPHL Live, powered by Newline and on YouTube. Hope you've enjoyed the pregame show up till this point. I had the chance to catch up with Mayhem assistant coach Ryan Michael. Coach, first off, appreciate your time and thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Now, what were some of the takeaways from our first three-game homestand of the series against the Peoria Rivermen last week? Thought there were a lot of really closely contested, hard-fought games, especially at the end.
Yeah, I think we battled. Obviously, last weekend we were shorthanded to begin with, and then some injuries early on in the first game put us a little bit behind. But I think definitely Friday and Saturday our compete level was there, and unfortunately we didn't get points or didn't find a way to come out on top. But I was definitely proud following that weekend with just our compete against a really talented team.
Absolutely, and Friday and Saturday night, the Mayhem actually jumped out to a lead twice. Both those games on Saturday, they actually had a 2-0 lead. The first time all season this past weekend that the Mayhem entered the third period with a lead, didn't come out on top, so Peoria's stick-to-itiveness was just really in full swing last weekend. and put on full display. But you mentioned injuries, Coach, and I want to mention a player who's coming back from injury, a long 18-game hiatus for Dakota Kletcha. He's finally back. He's now missed as many games as he played in this season. But what sort of impact do you think he'll make in his return to action here tonight?
Well, we're excited to have him back. I think he's a bit of a spark plug. He's a smaller guy, but he plays with grit. He's fast, offensively skilled. I think he was, one of the top offensive guys before he went out, which is something we've been lacking a little bit lately with injuries. So definitely excited to have him back to give us a little shot in the arm.
Yeah, he was. He was tied with Jake Trask for the team lead in goals when he went down, so having him back will be an enormous lift for the Mayhem, who have been especially short in the offensive categories of late with all these injuries going on. Some of the other players who will be out tonight, Larry Smith, Justin Levac, Jake Trask, Jimmy Soper, none of them are in the lineup. How does that change sort of the keys to performing well when the team is so shorthanded and undermanned like it is now?
I think it's just playing simple and playing intelligently. Obviously, again, it's another weekend where we'd like to have more bodies than we have, so I think it's about, playing smart, getting pucks in behind D, and then kind of winning the war of attrition over the course of 60 minutes, and that's kind of our key. When we turn the puck over and, we're forced to backjack and play D on our end all the time, by the third period it gets a little tiring, so I think playing a sound game in terms of positionally throughout the ice will help us over the course of the game.
Yeah, and fortunately for the Mayhem, they're playing against another team that's pretty severely undermanned themselves in the Pensacola Ice Flyers. They lost one of their top scorers, Brantley Sherwood, as well as Brandon Rumble, a defenseman, up to Norfolk in the ECHL. The Mayhem have never in franchise history dropped 5 straight in regulation. That could happen tonight, but fortunately they've taken at least a point in all 6 games they've played against Pensacola this season. They've got a 4-0-2 record against the Ice Flyers, which is pretty darn good. What is the message from Coach Thomas and yourself heading into this one?
I think it's just, stick to the structure. Again, play simple, and then have an attitude that we expect to win. I think, last weekend, Thursday, we were a little bit scared of kind of what Peoria was going to do, and we kind of let them dictate the game, but I think we just have to have a better attitude in terms of, we come out tonight expecting to win the game, expecting to win our battles, and I think we'll be fine if we have that mentality.
Sounds great. Well, last question here for you, Coach, and I'll let you get going. So you're in your first year as an assistant coach with the organization. You played here. You were a defenseman for 2 years. You were part of the championship team back in 2017. What were some of the attributes that group had that sort of made them special and a special thing to be a part of? And do you see any similar characteristics between that group when you played here versus this group now that you're coaching?
I think it's just the resolve. I felt like that year we won, and similar to this year, I never felt like, whether it was on the ice or on the bench now, like we were ever out of a game, whether we were down a couple goals. I always felt like, we had the pieces, and as long as we work hard, we had the skill to never be out of a game, no matter kind of if we played poorly or if we were playing well and just weren't getting the bounces. So I think that resolve, which is a huge thing, especially in postseason, when things aren't going your way and it's even harder. I think that mentality and that identity is something that both of these teams have, and it'll help us when we get down the end of the year.
Yeah, that resolve has certainly been put on full display all season. The Mayhem outscoring their opponents 42-26 in third periods this season. They never give up on games. The only team who's been better in the third period this season than the Mayhem are the team that just beat them in the third period last Saturday, the Peoria Rivermen. So we'll see if the Mayhem can get back on the winning trail tonight. Coach, really appreciate your time, and good luck out there against Pensacola this evening.
Thank you for having me.
That's Ryan Michael, your Macon Mayhem's assistant coach, former player and 2017 President's Cup champion. This has been your pregame show. We'll be back in just a moment with your starting lineups and more right after this. Okay, welcome back to the broadcast, folks. We're so glad you decided to take time out of your Friday night to join us tonight on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. You're listening to Macon Mayhem Hockey on SPHL Live, powered by New Line, and on YouTube. To the folks from the Pensacola side and the Macon side, we're glad to have you with us tonight. I had the chance to catch up with Mayhem forward, recently returned from an 18-game hiatus, Dakota Kletcha. Dakota, first off, I appreciate your time, and thanks for being here tonight.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So, Dakota, how does it feel being back after all this time away from the ice here?
Yeah, it feels good. It's finally I have something to look forward to on the weekends. When you're out for that long, it kind of gets to you a little bit. You're not able to, compete on the ice with the boys, especially when they're in a little bit of a funk. You can't really do anything to help that. But I did my best to stay positive in the locker room and towards the guys when they were going through that funk. But, yeah, it feels really good to be back. Finally being able to play again.
And speaking of this little funk that the team's been on, you've observed the last 18 games. That's the exact same number of games you played in before the injury. What have been some of the things that have jumped out at you about the team's performance on the ice that you've noticed that have kind of stood out above everything else? And what impact do you expect to bring to help out the team going forward?
Yeah, well, for the most part, the home games that I watched, it just looked like we were a little lost out there. Maybe we were forgetting our details, our habits, our forecheck, our back check, not picking up guys. Our passes haven't been that great, and I'm just looking to get out there and use my speed, control the puck as much as I can, play a good D-zone game, heavy on the stick, finish checks when I can, stop in front of the net. I think that's another thing we were lacking a little bit. We didn't really have a guy in front of the net when you should have one. But yeah, mostly speed though, for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. You've struck me as a player this season with really good hand-eye coordination in front of the net. You seem to like those redirects and deflections and whatnot, and that is something I think the team's been missing a little bit, is some good net front presence that was certainly missed in our Peoria series, so we look forward to having you back in that respect tonight. So if you could, Dakota, just sort of describe what the rehab process was like for you, and take us through sort of a step-by-step progression of your return to health here.
Yeah, well, I had my wrist injury on a Saturday. I had a surgery on the next Monday. 2 weeks after that, I started rehab. Little by little, first it was just stretching my wrist, and then it got into more physical things like, opening stuff, twisting stuff, squeezing stuff. The last couple weeks, I've been able to get on the ice and skate a little bit with no contact, but this past week, I've been doing full practices with contact, so I should be ready to go.
Well, that sounds great, and hopefully your shot's back up to par. I know that was sort of the last thing to come back for you. How does that feel? You think that's basically back to 100% or close to it?
Yeah, the shot's fine. Just a couple things that I'm not up to par yet, but more so on the backhand stuff. Yeah, but it'll come though.
Well, we're optimistic. We're confident that you'll be back in full swing before too long. I wanted to shift gears a little bit here, Dakota, and talk about some of your off ice, what you do off the ice, and your clothing line, Line 27. You've been into fashion for a while, kind of following in the footsteps of your mother. And with all this time away from the ice recently, were you able to shift your focus a little bit more away from hockey and over to the fashion side?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of business stuff, whether it's, research or getting connections with certain people. I've even gotten a connection here with one of the guys that works in the penalty box for us. He was the one that did my print stuff for my last line, so it's cool to meet him. And I went to his shop, I helped him out doing the shirts, so he kind of gave me a little tutorial on how to do it myself if I ever get to that point. But yeah, the time away from the ice, I definitely haven't wasted too much time not really doing anything. I've been doing a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it would serve as almost like the perfect way to not take your mind off it necessarily, but keep yourself busy with other passions and whatnot. So, did you notice any sort of marked improvement business-wise, being able to spend more time with a hands-on approach off the ice?
Yeah, it's kind of cool when you're in the lobby upstairs. At the beginning of the season when they were selling my stuff, I wasn't able to be there to actually talk to people, and since I was hurt, I was able to go up there and help. I was there for an hour before each home game selling stuff, talking with fans, signing autographs, getting pictures, and I feel like it's cool because it's more of like a hands-on experience for them. They're not just buying a shirt, they're buying a shirt from a player and being able to talk to them on the spot, so that was really cool.
Right, I did notice that a few times in the Centreplex lobby. You seem like a natural salesman up there, so it looked great. Last question for you here, Dakota, and then I'll let you get going. How do you think that the Mayhem come away with a couple of points in the standings tonight? There have been a few games now straight where they've fallen short. Most of those 4 defeats, the Mayhem are on a 4-game losing streak. All those defeats were pretty close for the most part. How do the Mayhem seal the deal tonight and come away with 2 points?
Well, we're still shorthanded. We're missing a few bodies, which is huge. But just play a full 60. Just dig deep in the third period or the second period. If you have a lead, you got to keep it. You got to just play a smart, simple game.
Sounds great. Well, I appreciate your time, Dakota, and good luck out there in your return.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
That's Dakota Kletcha, number 27, just returning from injury for your Macon Mayhem. This has been your first intermission report. We'll be back in just a moment with your Marriott out-of-town scoreboard updates and more right after this. Welcome back, everyone. We hope you enjoyed that intermission interview with returning forward Dakota Kletcha. He's been sorely missed for the Mayhem. He missed as many games as he played at the start of the season. And when he was playing, he was on a 4-game point streak. When he went down, 17 points through 18 games played, 9 goals, 8 assists. He was tied for Jake Trask with the team lead in goals. So his presence has been missed. And even in the just the few shifts that he played in the first period, you saw his speed on full display. You saw his hand-eye coordination. I mean, the first shift, he knocked the puck out of midair without even looking at it, well above the height of the crossbar, probably the height of his shoulders. He's got such great hand-eye coordination and is so good. And you wouldn't expect it because he's a smaller guy, but he's so good in front of the opposing net. And it's not necessarily his size, but it's his feistiness and his ability to redirect shots. He's probably better at it than anybody. He stands at just 5'9", 174 pounds. Not often do you see someone of that stature be such an imposing presence in front of the opposing net. So Kletcha has been missed, and his return was something that really sparked the Mayhem. Coach Michael, he referred to him as a spark plug, so it's not just the skill, but it's the grit and the energy that he brings night in and night out. So we're ecstatic to have Kletcha back, and he created a pretty good opportunity in the last minute of play in the first period. He raced down the right wing side, had a stride or two on Pensacola's defenseman who was back, and because of his speed, which not many other players on the Mayhem possess, he was able to get just enough of an edge to send a cross-crease pass across the ice. It was nearly tapped in by Sean Reynolds, who was either just maybe a step or a half a step too far in front of the pass, or maybe his stick was tied up, or maybe he just wasn't ready for it. Whatever the case was, it was close, but Reynolds just couldn't find a way to finish that off. But nevertheless, we're glad Kletcha's back, and now it's just a matter of getting the rest of the roster back. And Kletcha alluded to it, and lots of big pieces are out. Larry Smith, the Mayhem's probably their best shutdown defenseman they've had this season. He was nominated to be an all-star in the SPHL. He's actually, I think last I checked, he ranked second in the South Division, or the Southern Conference, in the all-star fan voting. So Larry Smith, sort of maybe an underappreciated player on the Mayhem. Maybe not underappreciated, but maybe underrated by the rest of the league. He's not a household name in this league just yet. He sort of maybe took a few folks by surprise to see his name on the All-Star fan ballot, but I'll tell you what, folks, he 100% deserves it, and not often enough do you see players recognized for their defensive prowess, because those numbers don't show up as goals, assists, or points, or anything that are really flashy numbers that stand out. But Larry Smith's stats show up in the form of his plus-minus, which better than any other defenseman on the Mayhem this season, second in the entire league. So losing him last Friday against Pensacola with the knee injury that he sustained was a tough pill to swallow, and we don't know the exact timetable of when he'll be back, but we certainly look forward to his return. And then of course, there was Justin Levesque, who's actually leading all Mayhem in plus-minus this season with a plus 23. He's out, and so is Jimmy Soper for the next 3 weeks plus, most likely. He was placed on the 30-day IR last week. And, of course, Jake Trask, who is one of the household names, is another all-star nominee. Led the Mayhem in scoring last season, second in the SPHL at 69 points on the campaign, second only to Knoxville's Berkeley Scott. This season, when he went down, he was leading the team in scoring. Now it's John Seamer, folks, who was able to surpass Jake Trask. He was the Mayhem's nomination for Player of the Month. He was beaten out by Ben Blasco of Peoria, but Seamer, nevertheless, with a very impressive month of January, over which time he managed 2 goals and 11 assists, and actually set a franchise record by notching 4 assists in a single game, which no player in Mayhem history had ever done. And that game was against the Birmingham Bulls and the Mayhem's 7-5 defeat against Birmingham back on January 11th. So John Seamer now leads all Mayhem in scoring, just barely passing Jake Trask. 33 points on the campaign for John Seamer, and he's also in the top 5 in the SPHL in assists, tied with Alec Hageman of the Peoria Rivermen with 24 helpers on the campaign. Let's take a brief look around the SPHL for your Marriott out-of-town scoreboard update. Roanoke hosting the Birmingham Bulls tonight. A 1-1 stalemate up at the Berglund Center in Roanoke, Virginia. The Knoxville Ice Bears atop the Fayetteville Marksmen. Both squads jostling for positioning in the standings. They're neck and neck with each other, right smack dab in the middle of the leaderboards. Knoxville in 5th, Fayetteville in 6th, tied with 40 points, an identical record heading into this game. That should be a fun one up in Knoxville, and it's 1-0 Ice Bears through 20 minutes of play. Evansville hosting Huntsville, scoreless through the first minute, and Peoria, Quad City, that tilt about to get underway. The Mayhem will visit both of those teams next week. The day after Valentine's Day, they will head up to the Tax Slayer Arena in Moline, Illinois, on the Iowa-Illinois border, and then they will travel south to take on the Rivermen the following night on Saturday, February 16th, to face Jean-Guy Trudel and company in central Illinois against the Rivermen. And unfortunately, folks, the Rivermen have not lost a game on home ice all season. Not in regulation, at least. They've lost a few in extra time. But the Mayhem, certainly I spoke with Leo Thomas about it briefly. He told me that that is their objective, is to hand them their first regulation defeat of the season on home ice. So Coach Thomas has gone with the same 5 who started this game. To start out period 2. Mike Cimello with Caleb Cameron centering, and on his right, Dakota Kletcha. Nick Minerva on defense with Jarrett Cupp on his left. Ian Silvis in goal. Rod Aldoff countering with Tim Moore, Daniel Perigo, Brett DeAndrea, Nathan Bruyere, and Jesse Kessler on defense. In net, Brian Billett. Billett was perfect in period 1. He stopped everything the Mayhem sent his way, which included 8 shots on goal. Pensacola out shooting Macon 14-8 through the first 20 minutes of play. Macon with other ideas to start period 2. Rocco Stachowiak, the linesman, drops the puck, and we're underway for the second period of the 37th home game, or rather the 37th game of the Macon Mayhem's 2018-19 season. It's redirected in behind the net of Silvis, and cycling to the outside with Daniel Perigo, who's watched both by Cupp and Minerva. Perigo spins it down from the direction he skated, and Brett DeAndrea is there first. The Bowling Green grad, tied up by Cameron, and it squeaks free out to Dakota Kletcha, who feeds it now to Jarrett Cupp. Cupp up to Kletcha with the pass. Got Cameron ahead of him. He will swivel his way through center, gains the zone. Kletcha on his off wing, drives and centers it. It's fought off by the stick of Brian Billett. Sent all the way down into Macon territory. The puck is rolling on its edge. No icing as Urban takes over inside of the trapezoid for Macon. Urban for Bazovics. Now to Seamer. Pass was too hot to handle. Intercepted by Matt Johnson across the blue line. Gets the return pass behind the net. Tries to center one hotly. Picked out by Seamer, who bounces one up the right boards. And Caligiuri is able to spin it out to Derek Sutliff, the Las Vegas native. Offside against Macon. Minute 11 have gone by in the second period. 1-0 is the score in favor of Pensacola. Taking a closer look on the 3 keys of tonight's game for the Mayhem. Number 1 was shorter shifts due to the shortage of players. Both teams have. Keeping bodies fresh is important. Number 2, net front presence. Dakota Kletcha ought to help in that respect. The Mayhem have not done enough of that without him. And finally, speed through the neutral zone, controlling the neutral zone as your third and final key to the game tonight for the Macon Mayhem. It's Ryan Marcuse from center, chips it in from the blue line and into the right corner of the Macon zone. He gets his own pass. Lapine, the recipient of his second pass, and now he will cycle it and get it in the slot. tries to pull the trigger. Zach Urban sliding, blocked it with his stick. And it's fed up to Caleb Cameron, or rather Derek Sutliff. Is he onside? He is. He sends it on net, and it's stopped by Billett. I think Sutliff was intending to filter one through for John Seamer. It went just outside of his reach and on goal. Brian Billett able to make the save. Derek Sutliff, College of St. Scholastica grad, coming from a family of goaltenders. Born in North Dakota, but raised in Las Vegas. And his dad, his uncle, his brothers, all goalies. And his dad told him, that's enough goalies. Be a skater. And he's done that pretty well for the Mayhem this season as Tallene sends it across the crease. Derek Sutliff, second on the Mayhem in goals, scored with 15 on the campaign, second only to Jake Trask. Here's Taylor Love. A former Carolina Thunderbird, scored his first goal with the Mayhem 1 week ago. Lays a beautiful saucer pass up to Ronsberg, who was on a delayed offside, I believe. No, it's onside, but he lost possession, and Caligiuri fighting for it behind the net. He coughs it up. Ronsberg steps in, fighting for the puck, helped out by Alexander Tallene. Ronsberg backhands a pass to the blue line. Jarrett Cup with a backhand pass to Tallene into the slot. Ronsberg's got it again. Seth Ronsberg shifts, hammers a slap shot, scores! Seth Ronsberg let it go. I believe it was redirected right in front of Ryan Billett and tipped past him. The Mayhem have tied the game up 2:38 into the second period. It's 1-1. That's 2:28, check that, and it's Vinny Caligiuri's first goal with the Mayhem. Excellent net front presence. We talked about that as one of the keys of the game for tonight. Caligiuri with the primary assist on Taylor Love's first goal with the Mayhem a week ago has now got his first goal with the Mayhem. Pensacola hoping for a quick response. It's wired off the crossbar and it stays out. Bruyere shuffleboarding it along. Brett DeAndrea cycling it to Daniel Perigo, and Dakota Kletcha sends it behind his own net. Nick Minerva's got it on the far side. Kletcha scrapping for it with Nathan Bruyere trying to spear it along. It slides up into the middle of the ice. Minerva scooping it up and sending it on net from 100 feet out or so. DeAndrea spins it along his own end wall, out to the far half boards, and Daniel Perigo gets the return and starts in across the blue line, feeds it over to his right. The trailer is DeAndrea, who shoots and scores. Brett DeAndrea on a nice three-way passing play has regained Pensacola's lead just like that. DeAndrea's third goal of the season, and it's 2-1 Ice Flyers with 16.5 to play in period two. Boy, Charles Olson hadn't even finished announcing the Mayhem goal when Brett DeAndrea just regained the Ice Flyers lead. Excellent response from Rod Aldoff's squad. Now the Mayhem will need their own response. Macon has got to do a better job of protecting ties and protecting leads. That's been a huge issue for them of late. Here comes Matt Johnson shoveling a pass in front, redirected on goal by Cousineau, stopped by Silvis. Love digs in there with his stick, tries to work it up the boards from his backhand. Sutliff steps in, slides it up towards Chamello, picked off by Cousineau, who keeps the attack going. Bazovic squeaks it over now to Taylor Love, who sends it up to Seamer, who deflects it into Pensacola territory. Now it's Ryan Devine. Devine's pass is interrupted by Tallene. Bazovic slid it up to Sutliff, who springs Tallene on a 2-on-3. Tallene down the right side. His shot is fought off by Billett. Hacked behind the net. Tallene fighting for it with help from Seamer. And speared at by Gavin Yates, trying to clear it out. Yates, Leedsman, Lapine all joining in on this rush. It's whacked away, and Pensacola reorganizing. Lapine gets the pass from Leedsman and sends it back his way. We're a quarter of the way through period 2. 2-1 Pensacola is your score. Goals in this period, first from Vinny Caligiuri and then from Brett DeAndrea of Pensacola. Leadsman sliding it up ice from his backhand, tipped further by Gavin Yates. Playing just his 5th game with the Ice Flyers this season. Sort of on a loan at the moment, a tryout of sorts. He's the youngest player on Pensacola. He's on a tryout/loan from the Watertown Wolves of the FHL. So if Rod Aldoff likes what he sees from number 74 in white, expect him to stay for a little bit longer. Kristaps Bazovics has his pocket picked, but the Mayhem escape with the puck on a 3-on-2 developing. Reynolds down the right wing side. Watched closely by Bruyere. Slammed into the end boards by Jesse Kessler. Daniel Perigo had his pass go off the stick of Kletcha. Took a spill in front of his own bench. Down the right wing side. Nice little toe drag there by Tim Moore. Couldn't quite get the shot off. Ran out of real estate. Sean Reynolds the other direction. Feeding one up ice. Caleb Cameron's got a step. He drives down the middle. Sends a pass over. Too far for Kletcha. It's reversed from Kletcha to Cameron. Bazovics was skating all the way to the front of the net. The Ice Flyers have just cleared it off a stanchion out to center ice. Caleb Cameron covering ground for Urban and Kletcha, the two defensemen. It's been flung all the way down as this icing it will be. Icing is the call against Macon. Brought to you by Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Fortunately for the Mayhem, it'll come right before a media timeout is called. So the Mayhem catch a break and we'll head to their first media timeout here of period 2.
Don't forget, Mayhem fans, the Mayhem are having a different promotional night for every one of their home games in the 2018-19 season. With 90s Night, Superhero Night, Princess Night, Military Weekend, and so much more, there won't be a game all season where we won't have something exciting going on at the Macon Centreplex. Visit our website at MaconMayhem.com for more details.
The next 2 home games, folks, will be on Thursday night. Tilts Thursday, February 21st and 28th against Evansville and Birmingham, respectively. For tickets, visit the Mayhem website, MaconMayhem.com, or you can just swing by the box office the day of the game. Caleb Cameron winning a defensive zone faceoff following an icing called. Urban sends it up towards Kletcha. Urban gets it back, starts the rush in. He's joined by Love on his left. Urban's shot is waffle boarded aside by Brian Billett. Squeaks past Sutliff. Good intercept at center by Seamer to prevent a potential breakaway. And a soccer attempt by Urban to kick it up to his D partner is nullified by Matt Johnson's hustle as he turns an edge and twists it into the left corner. Andrew Schmidt's got it. Schmidt on a 3-game goal scoring streak, able to spirit one back to the point for Jason Price. Price, Pensacola's graybeard, started his SPHL career in 2006. It's whacked up to the left circle. Friendly fire between a pair of Ice Flyers. The Mayhem are able to eke it past the blue line. Pensacola having to reset as Marcuse is stood up by Zach Urban. Devine's got it now. Ryan Devine swerving down the right side. Pivots his way into the zone and snaps off a shot that was blocked by the stick of Love into the corner. It bounces on the near side. Urban will try to whack it up to Caligiuri. Slides out in front of the Mayhem logo at center ice. Kessler up to Lapine. He's onside. He's joined by Marcuse. The pass intended for him, redirected wide of the net intentionally by Love. Point blank shot by Yates is stopped by Silvis. Loose puck in the goal mouth is cleared out to the side, and Lapine will set up shop in the half wall. Fanning on that one-time pass attempt there was Yates. The Mayhem will skate it back out of harm's way. Chimello spirits it up in the direction of John Seamer, who's able to catch up to it before Bruyere could get to him. It's shoveled up towards the point. Intended for Minerva from Chimello, picked off by Marcuse, who will skate it down the other side. Pensacola's leading scorer this season with 16 points coming into this tilt. We'll chip it in behind the Macon net inside of the trapezoid. Urban and Minerva play catch. Rather, it was Cup and Minerva, I beg your pardon. The Mayhem have just iced the puck. This icing call is brought to you by Tropical Smoothie Cafe. 11:51 to go here in period 2. The clock continued running for an extra 6 seconds, so now it's 11:49. 2-1 your score in favor of Pensacola. Their goals coming from Matt Johnson and Brett DeAndrea in that order. Countered by Macon's Vinny Caligiuri is first with the Mayhem. The puck drop's going to be to the left of Ian Silvis. Take place between Brett DeAndrea and Seth Ronsberg. Ronsberg's had a point in 7 of his last 10 games, including 2 goals and 5 assists. He's been incredibly consistent of late. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time this season we're seeing him at center. Certainly played both forward and defense, but he's even coached a game, but I'm not sure he's played at center yet this season. Another Tropical Smoothie Cafe icing called against Macon. Ronsberg's been one of the Mayhem's Swiss Army knife type players who can just do it all anytime you ask him to. And Nick Minerva sort of proved his capabilities in that regard last Saturday and Friday too. He played his first game at forward 1 week ago today. Stepping into the circle is Moore off the face-off. Nice save by Silvis with the glove to prevent Moore from doubling Pensacola's lead. Mayhem still in a little bit of trouble here as DeAndrea trying to spin away. Tino Perigo took down Ronsberg in the corner on the far side. The Mayhem have dumped it in. Out of his net is Brian Billett to whip it around the boards. Jarrett Cupp seals him off, but Ryan Marcuse fighting for it. Shovels a backhand pass up the right boards, and now here comes DeAndrea. He slips away from Tallene, gains the blue line, has a man with him. He wires it wide to the glove side post of Silvis. Bazovic puts the body on Tim Moore now. DeAndrea slaps it to Bruyere at the left point. Bruyere skates in, tied for the team lead in scoring as a defenseman. From the right point, let a shot go. Redirects wide. The second shot stopped by Silvis with the glove hand. And now it's fed up to Cousineau, the Pensacola captain, back to Bruyere, who one times it wide to the left post. And Ronsberg will angle it off the glass out past the blue line. Jesse Kessler is stymied, and Tallene redirects it into Pensacola territory. Lots of oohs and ahs from the crowd as Josh Cousineau lost his helmet. A Harrison's Body Shop collision taking place, it looked like, in front of the Macon bench. As Dakota Kletcha goes in after it, far corner against Robert Lapine. It's wedged up towards Ronsberg. Smacked into the circle. The Mayhem could be in some trouble here. Backhand shot skitters through the goal mouth and stays out of the net. It's scooped up by Zach Urban. Close call for Robert Lapine, and this game stays 2-1 in favor of Pensacola. We're nearly halfway through regulation. We will be in 3 seconds. The Mayhem still trailing the Ice Flyers by a 2-1 margin, as it's Jason Price being forced to pass it off to his left for Chris Leedsman. Gavin Yates and across the blue line. Robert Lapine is caught up to from a back-checking Dakota Kletcha. Caleb Cameron had it slide off his stick. Leedsman angles it off the glass out to neutral territory. Gavin Yates down the left wing. He's pressured by Taylor Love, who stays close on him, and Caleb Cameron scoops it up, takes it inside of his own trapezoid and dishes to his right for Love. Taylor Love sends it up to Reynolds, who's able to get his stick on it to redirect it, but he couldn't control it. Leedsman calmly sends it into his own slot, and Price, taking no chances, just whips it off the glass. Bazovic up to Nick Minerva. Squeaks along the boards, a few players vying for it from each side in front of the All-State bonding penalty box. Chamello up to Seymour. Miscommunication between Seymour and Sutliff. Pensacola regaining control. Chamello forces a turnover. He sends Seymour on his way. The return pass for Chamello broken up. It pinballs now to DeAndrea, who's cleared it. There's Perigo, rather. He sent it below the Macon goal line. Bazovic has it. 8.5 to play in period 2. 2-1 Pensacola's your score. It's chipped by Sutliff in across the blue line. Seymour's on a delayed offside as Chamello has to tag up. Now they're good to go as Sutliff commences the forecheck for Macon. Devine spins it to Jesse Kessler. Kessler's pass out to center is redirected by Josh Cousineau. His 4th season with the Pensacola Ice Flyers, 6th consecutive in the SPHL. Minerva wraps it around the boards. Cousineau seals it, keeps it in the zone, drops it to the late man Bruyere. He will fire a wrist shot stopped by Silvis, and a dangerous rebound cleared by Seymour in behind the net. Caligiuri is able to lift one out of harm's way. Now Tallene skates it down his off wing. Steps into the slot. Leaves it for Ronsberg. He spins with it. Ronsberg coughs it up. Cup's got to hustle back. Fortunately for the Mayhem, he's an excellent skater as he's able to cover lots of ground effortlessly. Now he takes it behind his own net. Cup up to Tallene. Tallene's saucer pass is well outside of the reach of Sean Reynolds. Nathan Bruyere played forward and defense throughout his career. It's his third straight season in Pensacola, number 15 in white. He will send it back to Price. Taylor Love fighting for possession near the red line. Pass intended for Sean Reynolds, but it was intercepted. He would have had a clear-cut 2-on-1 had it gotten to him. Tallene now off that awkward carom. In his own zone, sends it around his own end wall for Taylor Love. Cameron takes it all the way behind his own net, begins to wheel out with it. He races it down his off wing. Cameron gains the blue line with tons of speed, puts it onto his backhand, delays, and sends it back to the point for a one-timer, stopped by Billett. Loose puck, Reynolds skittered it through the goal mouth, out into the near corner, and Kletcha will feed Minerva the pass at the right point. Minerva played it back into the right corner, back up to Minerva. It goes, he sends it over, and Sean Reynolds couldn't pull the trigger. There was a chance missed for the Mayhem, but Reynolds does draw a penalty. And they'll be going to their first power play of the game in the 34th minute of play. Macon is perfect, has 1 for 1 on the PK so far tonight. This Mayhem power play will be brought to you by Wild Wing Cafe. On the season, Macon on the power play, a 14.9% success rate, good for 8th in the league. Pensacola countering with the 8th best penalty kill in the league, 79.2%. This is an opportunity the Mayhem need to take advantage of. Scoring has been their biggest issue really since the injury bug has hit them. No Soper, no Levesque, no Trask. That's a lot of firepower that's out of the lineup. And wouldn't surprise me to see Kletcha out there on this top power play unit right off the get-go for Leo Thomas and the Mayhem. So Kletcha is out there. The faceoff will take place in the left circle in the Pensacola zone. Kletcha is joined by Caleb Cameron, John Seamer, Kristaps Bazovics, and Zach Urban. Daniel Perigo in the All-State bonding penalty box for the Ice Flyers. Their first players sent to the sin bin so far tonight. Nathan Bruyere, Josh Cousineau, Andrew Schmidt, Jesse Kessler, the penalty killers for Rod Aldoff and the Flyers. This Mayhem power play brought to you by Wild Wing Cafe, getting its first crack at the Pensacola PK tonight. Cameron and Cousineau will square off in the faceoff circle. Wilkinson drops the puck. Cameron wins the draw. Urban taps it to Kletcha near the right point. Outer hash marks, right circle. Kletcha saucers it back to Urban, tees up a slap shot, long drive through lots of traffic, just missed the right post, and Kessler will dish it off to Bruyere, who sends a long Hail Mary pass out to Schmidt, who turns and shoots, waffle boarded away by Ian Silvis, and that'll be a souvenir for a lucky fan down there. So there will be a defensive zone draw on this Macon power play, with, the likes of which only 20 seconds have expired. We're inside of the closing 6 minutes of period 2. 2-1 is your score in favor of the Ice Flyers. It slides up the slot, turnaround shot by Johnson, misses the net, and the Mayhem catch a break as Urban will return it to his fellow Northern Michigan product, John Seamer. Sends one the width of the ice. Kristaps Bazovics back to Urban now, who will begin right through the gut. He gains the line himself. Nice long reach by Zach Urban, whose shot is blocked by the stick of Leedsman out of play. That flying puck's been brought to you by Blues Painting and Home Repair. The Mayhem will change up personnel on this power play, and we'll get a fresh 5 out there. Nick Minerva, Jarrett Cup, Alexander Tallene, Derek Sutliff, and Sean Reynolds out there now. Tallene will take the face-off, countered by Ryan Marcuse. 5:38 to play in the second period, 2-1 Pensacola. Marcuse getting the face-off win. Rare opportunity in the circle for Alexander Tallene. Sutliff fighting for it behind the Pensacola net, as is Tallene, but nobody's manning the left point as Minerva had come all the way behind the goal line to help out. Jarrett Cupp will have to take the pass now from Silvis in his own zone. Jarrett Cupp with 3 goals, 8 assists, 11 points on the campaign. Second among defensemen on the Mayhem in scoring behind only Kristaps Bazovics. Minerva, Sutliff, Minerva right circle, up to the top, Cupp, Sutliff, over to Reynolds. Outer hash marks of the left circle, up to Cupp now at the apex. Back to Reynolds, just outside of his reach. Tallene recovers, sends it up to Reynolds as he tries to dive and spear the puck back to Minerva. He keeps it alive brilliantly and will stride away from Andrew Schmidt. He will then deposit it into the corner on the adjacent side. Reynolds' centering pass intended for Tallene is cleared by Pensacola all the way down. Time winding down on this Macon power play. He'll get one last crack at it as Silvis will leave it for Jarrett Cupp. Cupp begins the breakout with 12 seconds to go on this man advantage. Sends it right up the middle, redirected into the right corner by Sutliff. Chimello will be first there. He is hit by Kessler. He goes down. Puck squirts up the boards, and Chimello staying on it with Seamer's help. He's trying to move it one way or the other. Pensacola comes up with it, and the Ice Flyers are back to full strength. Daniel Perigo, fresh out of the penalty box, is caught on an offside. Not sure that was offside, but that's what the linesman saw. Chase Wilkinson blowing his whistle, and the Mayhem catch a break. We're going to take a brief pause in the Mayhem Broadcast Network, folks. 2-1 your score in favor of Pensacola with 4:08 to play in the second.
Next season, the Mayhem are offering the most inclusive and rewarding ticket package in team history. These perks extend over all 28 home games at the Macon Centreplex. Your season ticket package gets you 2 buddy passes to any of the 28 home games, a 32-ounce Mayhem souvenir cup with $3 refills, a discounted season-long parking pass with access to VIP parking, 10% savings at the Mac Shack, a Mayhem lanyard, early access to the arena before games, VIP entrance to the arena, 3 exclusive team gifts, chalk talk with the coach before the games, and much more. Head to MaconMayhem.com to check out how you can secure your spot for the 2018-2019 season of Mayhem hockey.
So in case you didn't hear the news, folks, season tickets for the 2019-20 Macon Mayhem season are now available. You can purchase them by visiting the Mayhem website, going under the season tickets tab. You can call our director of ticketing, Tyler Layfield, at 478-803-1592. Or you can just come to a Mayhem game. We sell them here as well. Mayhem, of course, very thankful for all of our tremendous season ticket holders, as Blair Floyd described them, the lifeblood of the organization. Here comes Brett DeAndrea, and across the blue line, leaving it off for a snapshot by Perigo that's patted aside by Ian Silvis, who was down in the butterfly early. Tim Moore spins with it. Played 8 games for Kevin Kerr with the Greenville Swamp Rabbits in the ECHL this season. DeAndrea, watched by Minerva. It's redirected out of the zone by Caleb Cameron on the deflection. Now Urban swivels across the Pensacola blue line. He's watched by Jason Price. He centers it, hoping for Reynolds, who redirected it wide of the net. Kletcha shoveling it to the point. It was intercepted by Perigo, who shimmies it into Macon territory. John Seamer is back. John Seamer right now on pace for 51 points this season, which would be just 1 point shy of his franchise record with the Mayhem, which he set last season of 52. Skyhooked into Pensacola territory and snagged out of midair by goaltender Brian Billett. Let's take a quick look around the SPHL for an impromptu Marriott out-of-town scoreboard update. Birmingham in Roanoke tonight. The Rail Yard Dogs with a 2-1 advantage over the Birmingham Bulls. Knoxville still up 1-0 over the Fayetteville Marksmen with 6:05 to play in period 2. Huntsville in Evansville knotted up in a 2-2 stalemate through the first period of play, and Peoria hosting the Quad City Storm tied at 1-1 through the first 16-plus minutes of play up at the Civic Center. Tallene is dispossessed of the puck by Gavin Yates. Jarrett Cupp flings it to Caligiuri, whose extra pass was intended for Ronsberg, not quite in his wheelhouse. Caligiuri then took a run at Lapine. He's going to be penalized for it. And then Marcuse takes Caligiuri from behind There might be some sort of retaliatory penalty against Ryan Marcuse, but there will certainly be a penalty against Vinny Caligiuri. I think he was a little bit frustrated after that touch pass didn't work out. It was a good idea from Vinny Caligiuri, and unfortunately, Ronsberg just couldn't quite corral it in any sort of momentum across the blue line. So Caligiuri will take a seat, 2:28 to go in period 2, and the Mayhem will spend the majority of the remaining time in the second period shorthanded. Caligiuri to the sin bin. Mayhem's lone goal scorer tonight. Be in the Beyond Taboo Tattoo penalty box. Pensacola for the second time this evening to the power play. This Mayhem penalty kill is brought to you by J&J's Heating and Air Conditioning. Brett DeAndrea kicked from the face-off circle. And Daniel Perigo will step in to take his place. Perigo, a Truro, Nova Scotia native, 24 years of age. This is his first season playing hockey in the States. Played all Canadian juniors in college at the University of Waterloo. So this is certainly a difference in weather that he's experiencing, playing all the way down in Pensacola, Florida, after spending his whole playing career in Canada. DeAndrea, left circle, spins, sends it down to Perigo. Daniel Perigo angling it off the half wall up to the point for Jesse Kessler. Nathan Bruyere steps into the deep slot, feeds it to DeAndrea, left circle. The return is for Bruyere, who fans on the one-timer, and it's been cleared by Ronsberg all the way down. Bruyere's got that big long reach and an intimidating windup, but he hasn't really been able to unleash the full power behind his slap shot yet tonight. Matt Johnson, who opened the scoring this evening, racing down the left side and centering. He was hoping there for Robert Lapine. It sailed past his stick, and Derek Sutliff in pursuit of it. Spins it towards John Seamer. Taken away from him, Marcuse coughs it up to Seamer. Schmidt rescues it and feeds it back. Jason Price has it. Now it's Leedsman. Up to Andrew Schmidt. Trying to squeak his way by Zach Urban. The pass out to the high slot. Price tees up a slap shot. Hits the inside of the right post, but it stays out of the net. Close call for Jason Price, who nearly had his second goal in as many nights. In as many games, I should say. Bazovic's cleared it down the length. 42 seconds remain in period 2. 13 on the penalty kill for the Mayhem. Bazovic's clears it down to Seamer, who's on his way to the bench. Caligiuri now standing in the Beyond Taboo Tattoo penalty box, will be let out any second now. Terry Reynolds opens the door. Caligiuri's off to the races. He's going to skate right to the Macon bench. A fifth skater on there for Macon. It's Sean Reynolds, been cleared all the way down. This will be an icing call against the Ice Flyers. Brought to you by Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Now that's the worst thing Pensacola could have done, was to ice the puck, because now the Mayhem get an opportunity in the offensive zone on the face-off. They'll have plenty of time to set up at least one shot here. Mayhem improving to 2 for 2 on the J&J's Heating and Air Conditioning penalty kill tonight. The face-off will take place to the right of Brian Billett, who's been all but perfect tonight, allowing just one of Macon's 18 shots on goal to go through him. Kletcha off the draw. Had to step in and take a wrist shot. Blocked, and Jason Price will skate it out to the red line. He sends it into the opposite corner. Jarrett Cupp is there. 6 seconds. Cupp's got to hurry as he starts in front of his own net. He will stride in, right down the gut. Slap shot from center. On net, stopped by Billett. That's done it for period 2. 2-1 Pensacola. The goals in this second period coming within seconds, when Vinny Caligiuri got the Mayhem on the board. Brett DeAndrea responded just 55 seconds later. Well, Caligiuri's goal being assisted by Seth Ronsberg and Alexander Tallien. Then DeAndrea racing it right back into the attacking zone. Received a pass from Tim Moore. The secondary assist going to Jason Price, and DeAndrea from the mid to high slot range from straight away was able to just fire off a hot, hard, heavy wrist shot that beat Ian Silvis clean. Silvis was screened pretty hard. He didn't see that shot, I don't think, until it was too late. And the goal from Brett DeAndrea, his third on the season, regaining Pensacola's advantage just 55 seconds after Caligiuri had tied the game. So 2-1 is your score through the first 2 periods of play, your first 40 minutes here at the Macon Centreplex. Let's take one last quick look around the SPHL before we head to our intermission interview, which, by the way, another interview from the Creek FM 100.9 FM, our official radio promotional partners, WNEX, the Creek. Real music, real radio. We have a blast every time we're on the show. This Monday morning, I brought Kristaps Bazovic with me. It's his first experience on the show, and Tony Doolin, the host, and Charles Davis and David Higdon, Anthony Ennis. Those guys all do a great job over at the Creek, and we're so fortunate to have them as our radio partners. So they had a fun time interviewing Kristaps. You'll hear from that in a moment. But first, one last look around the league. Roanoke maintaining its 2-1 advantage over the Birmingham Bulls, 2/3 of the way through their contest up at the Berglund Center. Knoxville up 1-0 over Fayetteville. Evansville and Huntsville still tied up very late in the first period, which is just about done. Also, Quad City and Peoria also tied at a goal apiece up at the Peoria Civic Center tonight. So that wraps up your out-of-town scoreboard update presented by Marriott. As promised, we'll have the Creek interview with Kristaps Bazovic coming your way next. Keep it right here, folks. You're listening to Macon Mayhem Hockey on the Mayhem Broadcast Network.
.9 The Creek, Real Music, Real Radio, Creekside Mornings. Tony Doolin, Charles Davis, and some guests in the studio. Alex Von Keutel from the Macon Mayhem. Good morning, Alex.
Morning, how you doing?
Good, how are you, man?
Good. I'm excited to have a guest whose name is actually harder to pronounce than mine for once.
Yeah, and off air, I was talking with him and figured out that I was correct and incorrect on the pronunciation of his last name.
Us Americans just say everything wrong.
Because he did give me the back home pronunciation and the in the States pronunciation. I was straight up
In the States.
Bazovic, which is not correct.
not.
Bazovic.
Bazovic.
Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. What's your name, sir?
Hi, my name is Kristaps Bazovic.
See, you made a mess of his own name.
Where is back home?
Latvia, Riga,
Latvia. How do you make it from Latvia to Macon, Georgia?
fly.
Good answer, Christoph. Good answer.
It always makes my job so much easier when the guests come with their own jokes.
Let's rearrange that question in. Okay, so you fell in love with hockey big in Latvia, I'm guessing.
Yes, I started when I was 4.
Okay, cool.
This seems to be the magical age for most hockey players. Right around 3 or 4 is when they start.
I wonder why it is like that, but yeah, that's how.
Almost every player, that is their answer. So you started playing as a kid. How big is hockey in Latvia?
It's one of the biggest sports. It's probably the most popular, but it's also the most expensive one.
Of course.
So it's hard to get into it.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, but a lot of people watch it back home.
And I don't know a lot about Latvia, but it just strikes me as cold.
It's pretty cold. It's like New York altitude.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so right along the same line there.
Yeah.
So you start playing when you were a kid? You play through high school?
I started playing when I was 4. Then I moved to play when I was 13.
Okay.
Came to Los Angeles, actually.
All right.
Okay,
That's a bit of a
You went
switch.
straight from Latvia to L.A. That's like AAU basketball for folks, just for the same thing. It's like you started to travel because it gave you more opportunities to play with better talent and things of that nature.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I was 1 year in U.S., then I went 2 years in Sweden, then went back to U.S., played 3 years of juniors, went back to Europe, and now I'm back here.
Now you're back here. So playing for the Macon Mayhem, what's your position?
Defense.
Defense on the Mayhem.
Yes.
This past week, 3 home games, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Peoria, Riverman. They're leading the league. All 3 games were close. I didn't go Thursday and Friday night. I think on Thursday we scored first blood. Did we do that on Friday as well?
We actually did on the next 2. Thursday was the only game where we didn't manage to do that.
Oh, okay. All right.
But Thursday was probably the toughest game for us. We sort of had to figure them out, and that was their first game here, first time playing them, and we hadn't felt them out yet all year, and that was kind of the game where we took a lot of lessons from film and applied them to the rest of the series. And Friday and Saturday were both really well-fought games. They were tight all the way to the very end, and unfortunately we just couldn't get any points out of it.
Now, it seemed to me, being a defenseman, correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm still kind of learning the nuances of hockey, but it seemed like Peoria did a very good job of setting up their offense.
Yeah, well, they're very disciplined with their systems.
Yes.
Yeah,
Their
they
puck
always
control was strong.
Look at you using words like puck control.
I know, right?
So proud of you.
Trying to learn the nuances,
So
Charles.
proud of you right now.
They're just in the right positions, and
Yeah.
that makes it easier for them.
Yeah.
But also, if you know how they're going to play, it's also easy for you, kind of, because you know that they're going to be in those positions.
Exactly.
Nothing out of ordinary is going to happen.
Well, yeah, that's what you're saying with Thursday. Thursday was your learning period about
Yeah.
them, seeing what they do, and then, like you said, yeah, just adjust. It's all about the adjustments at that point.
Was this the first time? This is the first time in this half of the season that we've played Pensacola. We played Peoria.
That was
correct?
the first time.
First time.
This
First
year.
time ever.
This
Wow.
year, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So we're going to be seeing them again. I'm sure.
You would hope so, yeah.
There's a lot of history and bad blood and hostilities with what happened 2 years ago in the President's Cup championship game.
Oh,
here.
so is that the reason for some of the increased tensions between the two teams this weekend?
Normally, when you see two teams get together who haven't met all year, they're not going to be pushing and shoving each other
Yeah.
after every whistle. They don't know each other well enough, you know?
Yeah.
But this was different, and that's why.
It was different. Let's talk about Saturday. Let's segue into that because I was there for Saturday's game. It felt a little tense.
Understated.
For sure.
What is that? That was the nice word you could say about it. Yeah.
You
those
can
that
say
don't
that
know-
with a smile on your face.
For those that don't know, there are 3 20-minute periods in hockey for a total of 60 minutes of game time. 42 of those minutes, we were in the penalty box.
42, Alex?
42.
So that means only 18 was, everybody was together.
It was an
not-
aggressive game.
Not necessarily, but
Just a lot of fights, a lot of
Yes.
a lot of anger.
How many minutes did Alexander Tallene spend in the penalty box Saturday night?
half of those.
Half of those.
Oh, okay. Oh,
21.
oh, okay.
We've already cheered him this morning.
did.
We've
Yeah, we
already
did.
toasted a little coffee to Alexander this
did.
morning. It was a push and shove match Saturday night. It was aggressive. Let's jump ahead to
You stand
Friday
present.
night. We have a home stand this weekend. We've got the Friday night home game. The Mayhem are away for Saturday. Tell us about Friday night.
That's right. Well, we're looking forward to it. Saturday we had our best attendance of the year on Camo night. The jersey auction went very well from what I've heard.
How much did your jersey bring?
625.
There we go.
Not bad.
Not that we're keeping score, but 625.
For a first-year player here in Macon, that's not bad at all.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, anyways, so we're hoping to get some of that momentum back and get some of the folks who are here on Camo night back into the arena on Friday night. We're playing Pensacola. We haven't seen them for a while. It's Mascot night, so Mac's having his 4th birthday party. All of his friends will be there.
He's big for a 4-year-old.
He is
He's a
pretty
big dude for a 4-year-old.
Well, he's a hockey player. He works out with the team.
That's right. That's exactly right. It's Mascot night Friday night.
Yep.
No special jersey auction this time around?
No.
Celebrating Mac. I'll be your in-game host Friday night for that. Looking forward to it. And then returning home on the 21st for college night, and also the 28th is college night.
All right.
That's right. A couple
So-
of Thursday night games.
Yeah, I think Anthony Innes will be the in-game host for that. All right. Well, Alex, thanks for coming by. Nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you too.
I'm not even going to attempt your name.
Christoph's Baskovich.
Nope.
No, don't call it. I quit.
Basovich.
Yeah.
I got the Christoph's part right.
Shakalaka.
Look, I get
Basovich.
ring the bell for him, Christoph. Thank you.
He rang the bell for himself. That's awesome.
Ring the bell for him.
I haven't even touched the bell
I'm just going
yet.
to set the bell over
Wow,
there.
wow.
Just gonna
That's
let
right,
you
Alex.
have
You
the
haven't
bell,
even
man.
hit the bell yet. That is. Does that mean the players are more important than you, Alex? Is that what that means? I don't
Alex
know.
is not going to ring the bell. For tickets and all your info, go to MaconMayhem.com. Always good to see you, Alex.
Appreciate it.
Nice to meet you, Christoph.
You too.
Basovich.
Thanks for having me.
Hey,
the
no problem.
home
Come on, baby.
pronunciation.
Home pronunciation.
Here's Black Lily's Hard to Please on the Creek.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Well, we sincerely hope you enjoyed that special little segment that Chris Tapps and I had the privilege of being a part of this past Monday morning on 100.9 FM, The Creek. Real music, real radio. They do an outstanding job. We're so lucky to have them, and we always have a blast with Tony Doolin, the host, who's also our in-game host tonight. And the Creek guys, not only do they have a fun time and do a good job hosting us during those little segments that we do on Monday mornings, but also as our masters of ceremonies, Anthony Ennis and David Higdon and Tony Doolin, some of the guys from over at the Creek. They're always the MCs, the roaming MCs here at the Macon Centreplex, and just really enhance the fan experience here. So we're so thankful to have them as our partners. Speaking of them, folks, if you haven't already heard, the Mayhem will be introducing a new coaches show starting next Tuesday. We'll make our debut next Tuesday, February 12th, 6:30 p.m. at the Rookery, which is right underneath the station where the Creek does its shows. But the Rookery, located at 543 Cherry Street in downtown Macon. I'll host. Leo Thomas will be there for, I believe, for each and every show, unless, of course, he can't. But the plan is to have him there for every show. We'll also have a couple of players on hand as well. The players will be vary from week to week, but we're really looking forward to it. Another thing that we've been able to add to our exposure and fan experience, thanks to the Creek, courtesy of them, they're letting us use our their equipment rather. So we can't wait to get that one started. It's called Line Change. You can see all the details on the Mayhem website, maconmayhem.com. It should be the third most recent post on our website in news. So the details regarding the times, the schedule, the dates, the locations, etc., are all on the Mayhem website, maconmayhem.com. So we're excited to introduce Line Change next Tuesday night, February 12th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As far as broadcasting it, because I have had a few questions from folks who are interested in maybe tuning in from afar, we were not going to live stream it for the first go through, just because we want to make sure it's our debut. We want to make sure we've got the logistics down first. We want to make sure that everything else runs smoothly before we start broadcasting it. We'll certainly, at the very least, we'll archive it from our first show. But we're not planning on actually live streaming it. So the live stream will most likely come later. As usual, we'll most likely live stream these on YouTube, audio only, at least to start. We may play around with it and see if we can upgrade it in any possible way and enhance it and get video footage as well. But right now we're really in the guinea pig testing stages. So again, next Tuesday, February 12th, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Creek. I'll be joined by Leo Thomas and a couple of players as well. The show will consist of introductions, of course, recapping the previous weekend. In this case, it'll be the home-and-home series with Pensacola. I'll ask Leo Thomas and the players a couple of questions each, and then I'll open it up for fan discussion. Anyone who's there at the Rookery or at the Creek stage will be welcome to ask any questions they so desire to Coach Thomas or to one of the players. And then the fourth and final segment will be previewing any upcoming events and games the Mayhem might have. Again, not a whole heck of a lot of home games throughout the month of February, just two more after this one, which are both Thursday nights, Thursday, February 21st, and then Thursday, February 28th. After that, folks, the Mayhem only have 2 home weekends remaining in the regular season. The first weekend of March, Friday, March 1st and Saturday the 2nd against Fayetteville, and then middle of the month, March 15th and 16th against Huntsville for Military Appreciation Weekend. After that, our last home game of the regular season is Friday, March 29th against the Knoxville Ice Bears. 3 more road games later, the playoffs will commence. So, boy, oh boy, where did this season go? It just went by so fast. And I guess that's what happens when you're having fun. We've had fun all season long, and we're looking forward to some more fun next week for the debut of Line Change with Coach Thomas. So we look forward to having you on board. If you can make it to the Rookery, come on out, 543 Cherry Street in downtown Macon. In the meantime, this game, folks, is still 2-1 in favor of Pensacola. It was Matt Johnson who opened the scoring, 14:53 into the contest. Johnson's strike was his 5th of the season, and Vinny Caligiuri responded 2:28 into period 2 with a redirect goal from Seth Ronsberg's slap shot. Caligiuri's goal was his first as a Mayhem, and then Brett DeAndrea responded just 55 seconds later to give Pensacola a 2-1 lead. So that's where we stand now. The Ice Flyers up front 2-1 over the Mayhem here on Mascot night at the Macon Centreplex in the first half of a home-and-home series with Pensacola. The Mayhem will turn right around and head down to northern Florida tomorrow to take on the Ice Flyers. to wrap up the series. Puck drops in Pensacola tonight at 7:05 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8:05 p.m. Eastern Time. We've got a few minutes left before third period puck drop is underway. In the meantime, keep it right here, folks. You're listening to Macon Mayhem Hockey on the Mayhem Broadcast Network.
Next season, the Mayhem are offering the most inclusive and rewarding ticket package in team history. These perks extend over all 28 home games at the Macon Centreplex. Your season ticket package gets you 2 buddy passes to any of the 28 home games, a 32-ounce Mayhem souvenir cup with $3 refills, a discounted season-long parking pass with access to VIP parking, 10% savings at the Mac Shack, a Mayhem lanyard, early access to the arena before games, VIP entrance to the arena, 3 exclusive team gifts, talk with the coach before the games, and much more. Head to MaconMayhem.com to check out how you can secure your spot for the 2018-2019 season of Mayhem Hockey.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We're so glad you're joining us tonight on the Mayhem Broadcast Network, SPHL Live, powered by New Line and on YouTube. The Mayhem trailing the Pensacola Ice Flyers by a 2-1 margin. Pensacola getting on the board first and last so far throughout the first 40 minutes of play. The last one came less than a minute after the Mayhem scored their lone goal. Vinny Caligiuri's first with the Macon Mayhem. He also assisted on a teammate's first goal with the Macon Mayhem 1 week ago. So lots of firsts for Vinny Caligiuri of late. And this one is one he'll never forget. He redirected a point shot taken by Seth Ronsberg to open Macon's scoring tonight and tie the score up at 1. The Mayhem have still not led yet in this game. They've never, in 6 games this season, failed to take a point at least from Pensacola. They've got a respectable record against Rod Aldoff's squad, a 4-0-2 head-to-head series record. Both of their defeats have come in shootouts. 2 of 3 Mayhem defeats that have come in shootouts this season have been against the Ice Flyers. The only other one coming against the Knoxville Ice Bears the day after Christmas on December 26th. And since then, the Mayhem have really been trying to find their groove, because before that game, they were on a 4-game winning streak, and that game happened and really sort of turned the tide for Macon, who's not really been able to return to its previous self since. Dakota Kletcha hoping to be the spark plug that he was advertised to be, and that he had been for the first 18 games this regular season. He's back out there now. Third period action is underway as Chase Wilkinson drops the puck. The Mayhem, the Ice Flyers, squaring off for the 7th time this season. 2-1 Pensacola is the score as we start period 3. Tim Moore receives the pass and sends it diagonally outside of everyone's reach, goes all the way down. Silvas calmly taps it right back up the slot. Caleb Cameron picks it up, does a toe drag to deke away from Perigo and gains some space. He goes wide on Bruyere and centers it. Off a stick, it bounces right into the paraphernalia of Brian Billett, who will take a whistle and a stoppage of play. Billett's record not reflective of the numbers he's pitched in the goals against average and save percentage categories. He's just 5-8-3 despite putting up some of the best numbers out of any goalie in the SPHL. He's currently the 4th ranked goaltender in the league, and unfortunately for him, Pensacola has just struggled offensively this season. They rank 9th in the league in goals for per game at just 2.06. And they're going to skate this puck out of their own zone. Zach Urban intercepting it at center. Up to Vinny Caligiuri, who is tripped from behind. No penalty. Excuse me, it was Chimello who was tripped and upended. We get a whistle and a stoppage for a frozen puck on the far half wall. And if I'm not mistaken, the face-off will take place in the offensive zone. There was some confusion as to where this puck would drop, but it'll actually take place in the neutral zone in front of the Pensacola bench. Kuzno against Ronsberg, won by the former of the two, and Leedsman will send it over a D-to-D pass. Jason Price's pass picked off by Tallene and flung around the end boards, halted behind the net by Billett. Puck skitters back up to the blue line. Zach Urban's long shot is redirected on goal, but stopped by Brian Billett. Nice tip by Caligiuri, who's hoping for his second deflection goal of the game. This time it didn't have enough mustard on it, easily stopped by Billett. Net front presence, one of the keys to tonight's game. Caligiuri abiding by that as well as, if not better than anyone else on the team tonight. The ex-Quad City Storm. Offensive zone draw to Billett's left. The puck drops. Ronsberg wins the faceoff cleanly. It's fed D-to-D from Urban to Bazovics, who will rattle it off the corner boards on the near side. Kicked by Ronsberg towards Tallene. A diving poke check is made by Price, and out comes Pensacola's Andrew Schmidt from center ice. Fakes a slap shot, takes it wide on Bazovics and lifts his stick. Bazovics knocks him off the puck. He will then rattle it around his own end wall, and Zach Urban spirits it up to Alexander Tallene. Caligiuri back to Ronsberg. Skate to stick reception by the Lake Elmo, Minnesota native. Takes it in the left corner and wheels to the outside with possession. Flutters it to Caligiuri, who whacks it up over the net. Off the end wall it bounces. Tallene dispossessed of it. Kessler up to Robert Lapine. Yates makes a break for it. The lead pass outside of his reach, and Silvis will take a whistle and a stoppage of play. It was a good effort by the Ice Flyers on that counterattack. Nearly had Yates lurking behind enemy lines on a potential breakaway opportunity. Pensacola will go to an offensive zone face-off. It's going to be Robert Lapine against John Seamer. Lapine, a University of Guelph grad up in Ontario, brought down from Peoria early this season. Sutliff leaving it for Cup. Back to Sutliff, who snaps off a quick shot, stopped by Billett. Wrapped around the boards. Nobody's manning the left point for Macon, and Yates will send it in behind his own net. Jesse Kessler has it there. Kessler in his first professional season, a graduate of Hamline University. Sutliff bats the puck down out of midair. The Mayhem get a 3-on-2 rush developing. Seamer lays a pass ahead, hoping for Sutliff, broken up by the stick of Jason Price. And here comes Gavin Yates down the left wing side. His shot blocked by Minerva. Follow-up opportunity for Lapine, who shot it just wide of the right post. Now Bazovics carries behind his own net up to Michael Chimello. Sutliff skates away from one. Gains the blue line and has it knocked off his stick by Price. Sliding dangerously towards Billett, nearly an opportunity for Kalecha. It was hacked away from him at the last moment. Bazovics cycles it to Nick Minerva. Long stretch pass, finds Reynolds. He's joined by Kalecha. Reynolds' shot is blockered aside by Billett. Reynolds pinned up to the end wall now by Jason Price. Kalecha feeding it back to the point. Excellent keep by Zach Urban, who sends it down. Cup tried a backdoor pass, hoping for Reynolds. Blocked by Price, who perhaps saved a goal there by blocking that pass. Reynolds scoops up the puck and sends it on net, and a baseball first baseman's catch is made there by Brian Billett. And it's the second time tonight where Sean Reynolds nearly had a tap-in goal lurking on the left wing side of the net. Not really a natural left winger per se, a right-handed shooter you don't often see on the left wing side, but the Mayhem missing Soper, missing Levesque, missing Sumalitas now with the Florida Everblades, and Caleb Cameron having to play center due to all the shortages. has forced Reynolds to pick up an uncustomary role. Caligiuri was able to force it on net following an offensive zone faceoff win. Sean Reynolds led the Elmira Enforcers in scoring when he was called up to Macon by Coach Leo Thomas. And the puck drops. The Mayhem win the faceoff. Zach Urban from the right point with a stutter step and a head fake has his pocket picked, and here comes Daniel Perigo on the counterattack. He's held up just long enough by Urban to buy enough time for Cup to recover. Now Cup will try to spin away from a body check coming from Brett DeAndrea. Here comes Urban through center, joined by Tallene. Crisscrosses in across the blue line. Tallene gets the pass from Urban, sends it over to Ronsberg, goes between his skates. Cup, Ronsberg, left point, feeds it to Urban. Zach Urban faked, got Perigo to bite just a tad. Urban's pass over to Ronsberg is kept in the zone and fed down to Tallene in the left corner. This is the Mayhem scoring line tonight. Tallene, Ronsberg, scoops it up inside of the trapezoid, wheels to the outer hash marks of the left circle. Is harassed all the way through by Brett DeAndrea, who picks it up, and the Bowling Green grad fed it over to Perigo, who dumps it in. Kristaps Bazovics. Up to Mike Chimello. Now to Sutliff, above the left circle. At his snapshot blocked by Kessler. It stung a bit. Bazovics with a long wrist shot that didn't get through the traffic. It's speared away from Sutliff and collected now by Kessler. He will send it back into his own slot. Out with it skates Matt Johnson, who opened the scoring tonight, the alternate captain. Watched closely by Taylor Love. Johnson's bad angle shot is kicked away by Silvis' left pad. Out to center, it's Price. Bruyere, Price. Long stretch pass right up the middle of the ice, intended for Josh Cousineau, who was met by the opposition in the form of Jarrett Cup, who had his stick slashed clean out of his hands. It's going to be a penalty called against Pensacola. Jarrett Cup has been an expert at drawing penalties lately, and he's drawn another one for the Mayhem. Josh Cousineau, the Pensacola captain and one of their key penalty killers, is going to take a seat. 2 minutes for slashing, and the Mayhem with an impeccable opportunity to retie this game. We're 1 second past the threshold for the first media timeout of period 3. 14:59 to play in the third period. The Mayhem trailing by just a goal with a great opportunity to tie things back up at 2. Both teams have been 0 for on the power play tonight. Pensacola 0 for 2, Macon 0 for 1. And Coach Thomas has sent out his top unit: John Seamer, Dakota Klecha, Kristaps Bazovics, Zach Urban, and Caleb Cameron. Cameron will take the face-off, it appears. And Kristaps lines up in the shooting hole. All three right-handed shooters lining up on the right side of the ice. Urban begins to creep over to the left. Clean face-off win by Cameron, who's been excellent in that department so far tonight. Bazovic's left circle, sending one over to Klecha, right circle. His shot is blocked, and it goes out of play. That flying puck has been brought to you by Blues Painting and Home Repair. 14:48 to go in the third, 2-1 Pensacola. Good quick movement by the Mayhem on that power play. This Mayhem power play is brought to you by Wild Wing Cafe. Cameron, another offensive zone draw upcoming. Countered by Daniel Perigo this time. Chase Wilkinson to drop the puck. Both Cameron and Perigo went prematurely. The puck drops. Schmidt sent it back into his own corner so that his team could recover possession. There was a four-man scrap going in, a clear hand pass. I'm not sure how that wasn't seen by any of the linesmen, but it was passed across the blue line by Pensacola. I believe it was Schmidt, if I'm not mistaken, who passed it across the Ice Flyers blue line. It was about as clear-cut case of a hand pass as I've ever seen, and the Ice Flyers just got away with it. The face-off will take place in front of the Ice Flyers bench now between Cameron and Perigo. And the puck drops. It's speared across the line by Urban for Cameron. Fed off to Seamer, the alternate captain on the right point. Coughs up possession. It's been whacked all the way down. Silvis is out of his net. He will drop it inside of the trapezoid for Zach Urban. Urban up the middle for Cameron. Redirects it past Kessler. Diving pass to Seamer. Swatted away at the last moment. Pensacola's angled it off the glass. Kept in the zone. Klecha wheels into the slot. Protecting the puck from DeAndrea, who whacks it away from him. Then takes him into the half wall, the sidewall rather, in front of the Ice Flyers bench. A penalty will be called against DeAndrea, and the 25-year-old rookie is going to have a seat. The Mayhem now, with essentially a must convert, they're going to a 5-on-3 power play, and they need to strike here. They've been struggling to generate consistent offense, folks, and they trail 2-1 against a goaltender who's been red hot tonight, and the Mayhem really desperately trying to snap this 4-game losing skid right now with an opportune time to tie this game up. They'll be going to their first 5-on-3 in really as long as I can remember. This Mayhem Power Play is brought to you by Wild Wing Cafe. There are now 2 players in the all-state bonding Mayhem is Everywhere penalty box, Brett DeAndrea and Josh Cousineau. The puck drops. Cameron at the tie-up off the face-off circle. Dakota Klecha maybe had it go off his face, but he keeps it in the zone. Zach Urban right point now to Bazovic above the left circle. Kristaps Bazovic on the return on the DDD pass. He switches places to open up the one-timer option. Bazovic unloads. It's stopped by Billett. Ricochets through the goal mouth. Collected by Klecha. Fed around towards Bazovic. A fortuitous bounce favors Pensacola. It forces an offside called against Macon. What a bounce that took. It nearly rolled around the corner boards to Zach Urban. Instead, the puck just died. Gave Pensacola a second chance to clear it, and they took advantage of it. 38 seconds remain on this 5-on-3. Critical face-off in front of the Ice Flyers bench taking place between Caleb Cameron and Daniel Perigo. Perigo wins the draw cleanly. It's shuffleboarded out to Zach Urban, who feeds it to Kristaps Bazovic, and the Latvian-born defenseman starts it down the left boards. Will spin it to Dakota Klecha at the left point, up to the top. At the apex, it's Zach Urban. Urban for Bazovic, receives the pass, fakes the wrist shot, redistributes it to Zach Urban. Now to Bazovic again. Bazovic sends it to the side of the net, hoping for Cameron. Missed his stick, missed the net. Urban, Cameron gets the pass, far corner. Back to Urban above the right circle. Urban for Bazovic. He bobbles the puck at the blue line, recovers in time, keeps it in the zone. Switches with Urban, feeds him. Urban back to Bazovic above the right circle. Kristaps, Seamer, one-timer, glove save, rebound, Cameron scores! It's a tie game! Caleb Cameron has just scored his 8th goal of the season. It's 2-2, a Wild Wing Cafe power play goal. So the first power play had just expired, it looks like, as Cousineau was being let out of the penalty box right as Cameron scored that goal. Leo Thomas arguing it with the linesman right now. He believes that Cousineau was still in the box, and the Mayhem believe that that goal was scored on the first half of the 5-on-3, in which case Pensacola would still be shorthanded. Rod Aldoff and company arguing that the penalty had expired, in which case we should be going to the back to full strength 5-on-5. The Mayhem had about 58 seconds or so of carryover time on the second power play, and right now we're not seeing anything on the scoreboard in terms of the penalties, so that tells me that the first penalty had expired. Cousineau was let out of the box technically. Maybe he wasn't out of the box yet, but the penalty had expired. Nevertheless, the Mayhem have tied the score with a 5-on-4 power play goal. And the fans here not happy that teams are back at full strength, but that is the case. Marcuse takes it wide, shovels a backhander on goal, stopped by Silvas, and Marcuse went head over heels, tumbling inside of the trapezoid behind Silvas's net. But the Silver Butterfly makes the save, keeps this game tied 2-2. 12:47 to play in the third period. It's an even score here at the Macon Centreplex, courtesy of a Caleb Cameron power play goal moments ago. Seth Ronsberg wins the defensive zone draw. Jarrett Cupp striding up past Marcuse, chipping it past him and out. Marcuse is dispossessed of it by Cupp, who will send it back to Nick Minerva. Minerva for Cupp, rather. Nick Minerva will scoop it up near his own blue line. It's redirected into offensive territory by Vinny Caligiuri. Rimmed around the boards from Pensacola's blue liners, and Ronsberg couldn't quite seal the boards enough to keep the attack going. He will begin the forecheck against Chris Leedsman. Puck's redirected into the Pensacola bench and out of play. That flying puck's been brought to you by Blues Painting and Home Repair. Chris Leedsman, somebody with experience playing in both France and Germany the past 2 seasons. Last year played in Germany's 3rd league, 1 league above the league that Mike Ciamello played in last season for EC Pfaffenhofen, if I'm saying that right. I should hope so. I'm German myself. Derek Sutliff to John Siemer. Siemer is pickpocketed by Jesse Kessler. Wobbles the pass up to the point. Pensacola's cleared it. Bazovic taps it back into Pensacola territory. Sutliff fires a shot over the right elbow of the net. Close call. Siemer just barely failing to keep it in the attacking zone. Johnson lost it to Siemer. Sutliff couldn't dipsy-doodle his way past Josh Cousineau, the Ice Flyers captain, and Andrew Schmidt will ricochet it into Macon territory. Schmidt, the Miami of Ohio grad who won an NCAA championship his junior year. Derek Sutliff in the left corner is checked by Jason Price. Sutliff receives it, outer hash mark to the left circle. Had his shot blocked by Nathan Bruyere. It slid from Brett DeAndrea to Jason Price. Moore is stood up by Jarrett Cupp, who springs the pass along. Sean Reynolds has a step to his backhand, caught from behind by DeAndrea. Cameron with his shot blocked, and it stays in the zone. Nice keep by Love, who hammers a slap shot. Deep in his net to make the save there was Brian Billett, but he did so with his pads. Love can't keep it this time as he will regroup at center ice. Taylor Love has been a +10 in his last 10 games. Sent clockwise around the boards. Sean Reynolds is sized up by DeAndrea. Loose puck collected by Tallene, who uses his size to fend off Leedsman, another pretty big guy. Centering pass from Tallene, stopped by Billett. Nice save on Sean Reynolds, who remains snake-bitten tonight. Taylor Love backhanding it up the boards to Brett DeAndrea in front of the penalty boxes. Guiding it on back to Chris Leedsman. Leedsman's got it now behind his own net. We're halfway through period 3. The Mayhem have banded together to tie this game up with a 5-on-3 power play goal brought to you by Wild Wing Cafe. Technically a 5-on-4 as the first power play had just expired. Here's a chance. Marcuse left circle. His shot is blocked by Nick Minerva. Tallene is off to the races, caught from behind by Marcuse. Tallene just recovers, swats it into the Ice Flyers zone. It's halted behind his net by Brian Billett. Jesse Kessler races out. Kessler, the smooth skating defenseman, feeds it off to his left. Bounces off a Macon stick. Marcuse had it speared away by Vinny Caligiuri. Ronsberg then takes a run at Marcuse. Bouncing puck settled by Kessler. Fed up the gut, Lapine. Devine sends it counterclockwise around the Macon end wall. John Siemer with a home run pass, didn't reach Sutliff, picked off by Schmidt and centered for Cousineau, whose shot never came to fruition. The Mayhem on the counterattack with Sutliff, Siemer, Ciamello all in transition, buying into the attack here. Ciamello mishandled it in the Pensacola slot. Schmidt's able to get it out of harm's way. And now here's Jarrett Cupp, who overskated it a tad, who recovers and spins it into the Pensacola zone. Collected behind the net by Nathan Bruyere, who starts out in front of his own net with it. Pass out to neutral territory, interrupted by Jarrett Cupp. Cupp has his stick checked hard by Bruyere. Here comes Cousineau down the right wing side. Josh Cousineau with a little bit of space. He shoots, glove saved by Silvis. John Siemer in an unfamiliar spot there, playing left defense on that impending rush by Josh Cousineau. He's able to keep Cousineau wide and force a shot he didn't quite want to take. And allowed Ian Silvis to make the save. Both goaltenders pretty solid tonight, have allowed 2 goals. Ian Silvis has faced a slightly heavier workload than Brian Billett has. Right now the shot, well, it looks like that's pretty much been evened, except for one. Brian Billett has stopped 25 of 27. Check that, 24 of 26. Silvis has stopped 25 of 27. The Mayhem have not outshot an opponent in 6 games. The last time they did it was in Evansville, which is something they're really going to want to turn around. They were outshot by Huntsville in their 4-1 victory over them, which was the Mayhem's last victory. That was in this building back on Friday, January 25th. It snapped Huntsville's 5-game win streak. They were even outshot 33-30 in that game, and then since then they've been heavily outshot in every game. 47-23, 30-23, 40-21, 39-24. The Mayhem have been outshot a lot recently, folks. That's how it was at the beginning of the season. Then towards the middle, they started to turn things around, and now they're back in that little shooting slump again. Pensacola going to an offensive zone face-off. Brett DeAndrea is countered by Caleb Cameron. This time the RIT grad is beaten as a shot goes off the post. Devine with a long screen shot, nearly beating Silvis, but his best friend, the right post, saved the day. Well, the post on his right, the left post, if you're facing the net. Pensacola has just cleared the puck all the way down. A Tropical Smoothie Cafe icing call is imminent and made against the Flyers. Folks, if you haven't done so already, be sure to visit the Sin Bin website and vote for your Macon Mayhem in the All-Star fan vote. The Mayhem with Ian Silvis, Larry Smith, Kristaps Bazovics, John Seamer, Jake Trask, and Stathis Sumalitis as candidates. The Mayhem so far doing pretty well in the polls. As Tim Moore kicks it up to his stick, enters the zone near the point. Dispossessed of it by Cameron. Reynolds trying to pry it free, gain a breakaway, didn't happen. Cameron will go in after it, receive his own pass. The Mayhem's most recent goal scorer fed it behind the net for Kletcha, who had a blowout. Kletcha takes possession now behind the Pensacola cage. He shovels a pass back to the point. Zach Urban's got it, fakes and passes it down the half wall again. Cameron inside of the Pensacola trapezoid. Leaves it for Dakota Kletcha. He will slide it calmly up to Bazovics. The D-to-D pass to Urban. Urban sent it to Reynolds, whose stick was wrapped up by Leedsman. And the Ice Flyers will clear this puck out. It's skated down the right wing side across the blue line by Brett DeAndrea. Will drop it off to a fresh Marcuse off the line change. Tim Moore is entangled by Reynolds. Tallene trying to pry the puck ahead. A little bit too far into his path as it was taken away and sauced back to Jesse Kessler. Finds Marcuse. Caught from behind by Nick Minerva. Minerva bounces it out to neutral territory. Tallene accelerates it further. Too bouncy for Caligiuri to handle. Now here comes Yates and across the blue line. Left off for a snapshot by Lapine. Stopped by Silvis. Gavin Yates playing in just his 5th game with the Ice Flyers on a loan from the Watertown Wolves of the Federal Hockey League. Has certainly made his mark up here in Pensacola with all their call-ups and injuries they've had to deal with. They've had to dip into the FHL as well. It swung quickly back to the blue line for Nathan Bruyere, whose snapshot is held by the glove of Ian Silvis. John Seamer to take a defensive zone faceoff to Silvis's left, the right circle in the Macon zone. Puck flutters up into the deep slot, barely kept in the zone by Yates, who is going down to a knee. It's fed behind the Macon net, now to Nick Minerva. Sutliff back to Minerva again in his own corner. 6.5 to play in the 3rd period. 2-2 is your score. Macon has never yet led in this game. Minerva's got it behind his own cage. Marcuse flushes him out. Minerva long pass out to center. Tipped high in the air, a good 100 feet or so by Sutliff. It lands in the Ice Flyers zone. Here comes Kessler down the right side. Watched by Sutliff. Got it over the blue line. Yates put it behind the net. Minerva takes the body. Sutliff fighting for it now in the near corner near the Georgia Orthopedic Specialist dasherboard. Side of the net pass Lapine. Met by Silvis's glove, who cradles it. Pensacola trying to respond in such a manner that they did their first time when they responded to Macon's strike by Vinny Caligiuri. The Long Island native scoring his first goal with the organization tonight. He's without a doubt going to be keeping that puck. Graduate of SUNY Potsdam, State University of New York, Potsdam. Played in that conference where Ryan Michael coached, and Sammy Wilbur played there as well. Andrew Schmidt behind the Macon net is tripped up. The Mayhem will be going back to the PK as Cousineau rattles it back to the line. A shot is taken from Leedsman, stopped by Silvis. That does not count as possession, so play continues. The Ice Flyers with 6 players out there. Leedsman to Price above the right circle. Price, circle-to-circle pass, slap shot, kick saved by Silvis and cleared. So the whistle blows, but the Mayhem back to the PK for the 3rd time tonight. The Mayhem 1 for 3 on their Wild Wing Cafe power play, 2 for 2 on the J&J's heating and air conditioning penalty kill. Caleb Cameron, the Mayhem's most recent goal scorer, to the sin bin in the Beyond Taboo Tattoo penalty box. Cameron's penalty numbers have significantly increased since he's switched from winger to center, and I think that's to be expected. His role is a little bit more defensively oriented now. He's got to keep a close, watchful eye on his opponents at all times and constantly keep his head on the swivel and probably work a little bit harder than he had to as a winger in the board battles and whatnot. Bruyere off to his left. It's given down to Lapine. Lapine now for Tim Moore. Moore at the goal line on the far side of the ice. Watched by Ronsberg. Up to Bruyere at the apex. Long shot redirected just wide. Kicked up to Perigo's stick. We'll cycle it along to Kessler at the blue line. Back to Perigo. Kessler again. Bruyere. DeAndrea. Side of the net pass. Backhand shot taken by Moore. Stopped by Silvis. Whacked at behind the net. Moore's got it again. Perigo is checked by Caligiuri. Gets back onto his skates. In the meantime, it's cycled up to Kessler, who will feed his D partner Bruyere. Down to the goal line for Brett DeAndrea. Up to the top again. Long screen shot by Bruyere. Blocked by diving Ronsberg. Stays in the zone. Perigo holds on. Bruyere to the front of the net. Kessler's one-timer redirected. Stopped by the stick of Silvis. Cleared up the wall and down by Nick Minerva. That's done it for half of the PK. The Mayhem get a fresh 3 out there. Ronsberg, the lone penalty killer, to stay out because he's forechecking. He retaliates with a check on Kessler. No penalty. Play is allowed to continue here. And Jason Price will leave it behind his own net, and Chris Leedsman swoops in to collect the puck. Gives it to Matt Johnson, who flies down the left side. He's met by Dakota Kletcha in the far corner. Kletcha fighting for it, trying to shift it back up the wall. It scurries back to the left point now. Price is open, receives the pass from Leedsman. Back to Leedsman again. Slap pass to the far side. Matt Johnson in the left circle. Spins. Kletcha taking away the passing lanes. Johnson snaps a shot that sails over the crossbar. Kept in play there by Price. Fed behind the net. Marcuse checked by Urban. Pensacola retains possession. Time winds down on the power play here. Cameron standing in the box, and a mishap at the blue line causes Leedsman to recover at center ice. Cameron let back onto the ice, and the Mayhem improving to 3 for 3 on the J&J's heating and air conditioning penalty kill. Marcuse sized up by Bazovics. It's cleared out to the red line and flung back in by Pensacola's Jason Price. Bazovics reverses it. Sutliff feathers it along for Zach Urban. He will hoist one from his backhand beautifully over to the far side. It's played back up ice quickly by Ryan Devine. It's brought in over the blue line now by Tim Moore, who takes a spill in the near half wall. DeAndrea finished his check. Moore feeds him with the pass nicely. DeAndrea to the front of the net, denied by Silvis, who was in the butterfly to make the save. Jarrett Cup races out of his own zone with it, and Tauline will just flip it in from the red line. Vinny Caligiuri commences the forecheck. It's sent behind the net. Devine for Kessler. Jesse Kessler sends it up to Moore, who I don't believe got his stick on it. He did not. Hence, a Tropical Smoothie Cafe icing call is made against Pensacola, who are blessed with a media timeout. 2:38 to go in the third period. 2-2 is your score. This will be your final media timeout of regulation time. We're going to take a quick pause on the Mayhem Broadcast Network.
This season, the Mayhem are offering a great group package. Whether you're a school, a church, a company, or just a group of friends, give the Mayhem office a call and we'll set you up with an incredible group deal. From $13 tickets to free team hats to a unique experience upgrade of your choosing, the Mayhem have got you and your group covered. Call our office at 478-803-1592 to purchase your group tickets to a Mayhem game today.
So the possibility of overtime now looming here at the Macon Centreplex. Mayhem fans probably a little bit more reluctant to hope for overtime than Pensacola fans tuned in on the air might be. The Mayhem 0 for 3 in extra time this season. All 3 of those games were decided in a shootout. 2 of them came against Pensacola. The Ice Flyers 2 for 2 in OT, 2 and 2 in OT, 3 and 2 in the shootout. They've gone to extra time more than anyone has this season. Cameron winning an offensive zone draw. The shot from Klecha is blocked outside of the reach of Reynolds. It's fed out to the red line. Jarrett Cupp is there to intercept. He will send it back in from center ice. Karam's off the near corner boards near the open MRI of Macon dasher board. And it's worked up the half wall. Dakota Klecha holds it, feeds it back towards Cupp. Cupp is unable to keep it in the zone as Moore strides out with it. Moore is brought down. Cameron flips it back into the Ice Flyers zone. Brian Billett will halt it behind his net. Jesse Kessler to take over from there. We're in the closing minutes of regulation here. We're winding down to the 2-minute warning at the Macon Centreplex. Bazovic to Reynolds. Reynolds, crisp pass for Seamer. One-on-one, nice move. Seamer catches up with the pass and then sends it rink wide over to Chamello, whose shot is stopped by Brian Billett. Chamello gets his stick in there, wins possession of the puck. The Ice Flyers with lots of tired bodies out there, even following that media timeout. We're in the final 100 seconds of regulation. Seamer. We get a whistle here, and I'm not sure what the cause of this is, but it favors the Ice Flyers as they'll get a chance to change personnel. Perhaps not. Now, the one player who came back onto the ice was told to go back to the bench, Ryan Devine. And the faceoff, however, will come out to neutral territory. I suppose they're saying that was a hand pass against Macon. Seamer against Cousineau in the faceoff circle. Cousineau in his 4th season with the Ice Flyers consecutively. Able to win the faceoff cleanly. Schmidt coughs it up to Derek Sutliff. Andrew Schmidt finished his check on Sutliff, who will leave it nicely for Michael Chamello to scoop up. Bazovic fed it into a vacant area. Bruyere now occupies the puck. Up to the right point, Urban with a drive. Glove saved by Brian Billett. Whacked up from Bruyere, kept in the zone by Urban. Redirected pass from Chamello just wide of Sutliff. Chamello gets an opportunity, spins it on net, stopped by Billett, who had the 5-hole closed. Urban, another attempted keep. He was knocked into by Matt Johnson to prevent that from happening. Now Seamer over the blue line. Feeds a pass down the boards. Offside is the call against Macon. That offside call really a thorn in the Mayhem side as Seamer was joined by Sutliff, who would have had a nice opportunity. Sutliff now arguing with Chase Wilkinson, the linesman, over the call. Wilkinson actually made that offside call against Sutliff last weekend against the Peoria Rivermen, and that was a tough one for him to swallow too because he had a clean-cut breakaway with a chance to open the scoring against Peoria. A very close call. Ryan Marcuse turns it towards the red line. Perigo shoveling it up the boards. Cup. Marcuse now driving down his off wing. Dips the shoulder, carries behind the net. Tries to buy some time and space. He's met by a pair of Navy sweaters who are able to pry it off of his blade. Caleb Cameron has outnumbered, but he will chip it in on net. Save, rebound, and the whistle blows. I don't know why. Perhaps I'm not sure if the linesman thought that Brian Billett had the puck in his glove or what, but the whistle blew, and the Mayhem will go to an offensive zone face-off in the right circle. 31.3 to go in the third period. 2-2 is the score. Ronsberg with a clean win on the draw, but it straddles the two defensemen, goes right between the two of them, and Minerva and Cup will reorganize in their own zone now. Jarrett Cup, long pass, redirected by Tallene, so no icing. Leadsman behind his own goal line, wraps it around. Perigo chips it off the glass. Jarrett Cupp is able to intercept it. He sends a pass to Ronsberg, now to Cameron. He drives Cameron to the backhand, shoots, stopped by Billett. 4 seconds to go. That'll just about do it here for regulation time. Ladies and gentlemen, we are heading to extra time, and it's the Mayhem's first trip to overtime since December 26th. They were in Knoxville Final of a 3-2 decision in favor of the Ice Bears, who won by a Higgs shootout goal. The Mayhem finally able to outshoot Pensacola in a period. It took till the third period before they were able to do it, but they still did it. 14-12 in period 3, the shots on goal favoring Macon. Folks, unfortunately, the Mayhem's experiences in overtime against Pensacola have not been great. Their experiences in general this season in extra time have not been great. They're 0 for 3 when going to extra time. All 3 of those defeats came in shootouts. There has not been a game all season for the Mayhem that was decided in overtime in the 5-on-5 sudden death period. So the way this works, if you're not familiar, in the SPHL, there will be a 5-minute 3-on-3 sudden death period. The first team to score will win the game. Both teams will get at least a point tonight, which means that the Mayhem's regulation losing streak is now over, no matter what happens. They had lost the past 4 games in a row in regulation. They were on the verge, in jeopardy of a franchise record, and a bad franchise record that they would have broken. Had they lost in regulation tonight, it would have been their 5th regulation defeat in a row, which would have been the first time in franchise history that happened. That is no longer possible, even if the Mayhem lose. So they have secured a point tonight at the very least, which means they are right now up to 46 points in the SPHL standings. Seeing as Huntsville's game is not over yet, they have just passed the Huntsville Havoc for 3rd place in the SPHL. John Seamer, Derek Sutliff, Kristaps Bazovic, all very good skaters out there for the 3-on-3. We'll see who Rod Aldoff decides to counter with. I'll see a few guys out there already sort of standing in front of the bench. So it'll be a 5-minute period of sudden death 3-on-3 hockey, which is incredibly exciting if you haven't experienced it before. Objectively exciting. And then if no player manages to score over the course of the next 5 minutes of play, there will be a best of 5 shootout. The Mayhem 0-3 in shootouts this season. Can they become 1-0 in the overtime period? We'll find out. The puck drops and we're underway for the first overtime in this building since the home opening night. Jason Price spins with it now behind his own net. Derek Sutliff is in the F1. Price dishes off to his right. It's brought down the right wing side by Brett DeAndrea, who scored Pensacola's most recent goal. Takes a step into the left circle and fires it off the crossbar. Another post not going in Pensacola's favor as Sutliff motors down the left side. He's watched by Jason Price, who slams on the brakes and defends him. Derek Sutliff, incredibly dangerous. He's been on a hot little roll. 7 goals, 5 assists in his last 10 games. Seamer gets the pass from Bazovic, motors down the left wing, carries behind the net. Seamer still has it on his stick. Wheels to the outside with it, and will just carry it back across the opposing blue line and back towards his own blue line. Seamer dropping it for Kristaps. Bazovic's up to Seamer. Sends the pass in the direction of Sutliff. Nice little give and go. Seamer into the slot with a wrist shot that is blocked. It flies out of play. That flying puck out of play is brought to you by Blues Painting and Home Repair as Daniel Perigo and Derek Sutliff find themselves in a confrontation. .358 to play in overtime, and this will be their first line change that takes place. Both teams taking advantage of that. It's hard to stay fresh. The Ottawa Senators captain last season, or maybe it was a couple seasons ago when he critiqued the NHL's version of the 3-on-3, said it felt like a bag skate to him. He was skating up and down the ice basically nonstop for 5 straight minutes, so line changes really have to be taken as often as possible here, but not poorly timed, that's for sure. Lapine down the left wing side, sends a pass over. Marcus on the backhand, just missed the net with his shot, and Cup will shovel it up the right boards. Caleb Cameron trying to gain a step. He is tripped. Will this be a penalty? No, the referee's arm stays down, and Stephen Hoshaw not giving the Mayhem a 4-on-3 power play. Robert Lapine out to center ice across his own blue line. Calls for some reinforcements. I believe he wants his teammates to change. They have not done it. Jesse Kessler gets the pass from him. So in the 3-on-3, it's more of a man-on-man, more so than a zone. It doesn't make much sense to play zone, which is why you see Jarrett Cupp, a defenseman, all the way in front of the Pensacola net right now. Because his man is Jesse Kessler, who's got it now. He spins back behind his own net. It's reversed by Kessler for Matt Johnson. Open the scoring tonight. Now Andrew Schmidt is on a 3-game goal-scoring streak in jeopardy of having that snap tonight. John Seamer presenting great difficulty for him. Nathan Bruyere starts it. He lobs a pass ahead beautifully, lands flat on Schmidt's tape after it landed, and He will just spin it on back to Nathan Bruyere. The Flyers changing a couple of bodies out. Nathan Bruyere with it behind his own net. We're halfway through the sudden death period. 2.5 to play. Bruyere fed it up to Perigo. Offside. Chase Wilkinson blowing the whistle. It's been a good night for the Mayhem in the special teams department. Scoring a power play goal, going perfect on the PK. They needed a night like this. Special teams for the Mayhem this season have struggled. They're in the bottom half of the league in both categories, but tonight, perfect on the PK, 1 for 3 on the power play. Not too shabby. And Mike Cimello has his stick slashed out of his hands. Play continues as it's brought down the right side by Daniel Perigo. Carries it behind the Macon net. Perigo dropping it into the corner on the near side of the ice. Cimello scoop it up. Bazovic had to jump over Cimello, who had possession of the puck behind the Macon goal. Mishandles it. Bazovic recovers. Ronsberg tapping his stick, calling for the pass. He gets it. Price defending. Ronsberg steps into the slot and fires. Goes off the stick of Price. Stays in play. Cimello's got a back check, and he's got to hurry. Marcuse down the right wing side is joined by DeAndrea. Marcuse's pass intended for DeAndrea. Good stick check by Bazovic to prevent it from getting over on the cross crease. Now 100 seconds remain in the overtime period. The Mayhem have not had a game end in overtime all season. In the shootouts this year, they're 0 for 3. Pensacola, on the other hand, 3-2. Fletcher in across the blue line. Had it swatted off his stick. Marcuse met by Kletch on the half wall on the near side. Lapine carries behind his own net and races out down the right wing side. Another 2-on-1 for Pensacola. The only man back is Cup. Here's the shot from Lapine. He scores. And the Pensacola Ice Flyers have just won their 11th game of the 2018-19 season. They improved to 11-20-4. Robert Lapine with his his second goal of the season. The Mayhem dropping to 21-12-4. And the first half of this home-and-home series did not go according to plan. At the very least, they have snapped their 4-game regulation losing streak, but they are still on a losing streak of 5 straight. So the fans giving the players one last round of applause before they head off the ice and get ready to make the trip down to Pensacola for perhaps some revenge. Boy, folks, overtime just has not been the Mayhem's strong suit this year. They're now 0 for 4 in games which extend past the regulation 60 minutes. 3 of those 4 defeats in extra time have come at the hands of the Pensacola Ice Flyers, so that's essentially something that they play for. Not once all night did the Mayhem lead in this game, the final score being 3-2 in favor of Pensacola. We'll recap how we got to this point real quick, but first, one last out-of-town scoreboard update presented by Marriott Hotels. Roanoke hosted Birmingham tonight, and that game still going on, but looks like the unofficial final is 3-1 Rail Yard Dogs, so it must have just ended moments ago. Knoxville hosting the Fayetteville Marksmen in the clash of basically 2 teams who are tied for 5th place right now, deadlocked in the middle stages of the SPHL leaderboards. 3-2 Knoxville the score with 2.5 minutes remaining up in Knoxville, Tennessee. Evansville, Huntsville tied up at 3 goals apiece in the second intermission of that game up in Evansville, Indiana. And Peoria has pulled ahead of Quad City, the score 2-1 in favor of the Rivermen up at the Peoria Civic Center. That wraps up your out-of-town scoreboard update presented by Marriott Hotels. Let's take a look at this game in greater detail and recap how we got to this point. Matt Johnson opened the scoring 14:53 into the game with an even strength goal. He just snapped a shot on goal from Andrew Schmidt, Ryan Devine, the playmakers who set him up in the slot, bottom of the left circle. Just released it quickly. I believe it went through the 5-hole of Silvis, who couldn't get set in time. Just a really fast shot. Matt Johnson didn't aim it at all. He just whipped it at the net, and that's what you got to do sometimes. He was able to beat Silvis, give the Ice Flyers a 1-0 lead. Vinny Caligiuri responded 2:28 into the second period, redirecting a point shot taken from the right side by Seth Ronsberg for his first goal as a Macon Mayhem. Vinny Caligiuri, congratulations on that feat. But just 55 seconds later, Just 55 seconds later, Brett DeAndrea responded with a goal of his own. Tim Moore, Jason Price on the assists. And DeAndrea's goal would be his third as an Ice Flyer, third of the season. In his rookie year, the 25-year-old had a big game, just his 10th game with Pensacola. And it took a long time before the Mayhem had an answer to that one, but eventually they did, just as their 5-on-3 power play had expired. Caleb Cameron whipped it into the net from the right side of the ice. John Seamer, Kristaps Bazovic with the assist. Seamer took the shot that was gloved away by Billett, and the loose puck laid right on his doorstep. Cameron just whipped it into the net, tying the game for the Mayhem. They could never pull ahead for the lead as they entered overtime. 3:45 into it, the Ice Flyers went to their umpteenth odd man rush, and Robert Lapine just fired a powerful wrist shot that squeaked through the equipment of Ian Silvas to give the Flyers the overtime victory. So Pensacola improving to 11, 20, and 4. 26 points now in the standings. They now hold a 6-point edge. A 5-point edge over the Quad City Storm, who's still in action tonight against Peoria. And the Mayhem dropping to 21, 12, and 4. 46 points on the campaign. The Mayhem dropping their fourth consecutive extra time tilt. They have yet to win a game this season that has gone past 60 minutes long. On home ice, the Mayhem have fallen to a record of 12, 7, and 2. Next home game will not be for a while, folks. The Mayhem will host the Evansville Thunderbolts for the first time this season on Thursday, January 21st at the Macon Centreplex. For tickets, you can visit the Mayhem website, maconmayhem.com, or visit us online, or pay a visit to the box office right here at 200 Coliseum Drive. Tickets on that night are only $10 a piece. It's also college night. If you can present a valid college ID, they're only $8, so we encourage any college students tuned in to attend next Thursday night's tilt, or a couple of Thursdays from now on the 21st. And the following Thursday after that, Thursday, February 28th, the final day of February, the Mayhem hosting the Birmingham Bulls to kick off a 3-game homestand. The next 2 games will be against Fayetteville on the Princess Night and Pucks and Paws Night on Saturday, March 2nd, which we've already had lots of pre-sold tickets. We're anticipating that to perhaps be the most heavily attended game in Mayhem history. So lots of exciting things on the horizon for the Mayhem. Hopefully a few of these players who have gone down with injuries can return, because so far, folks, it's really taken its toll on the Mayhem. In the absence of Justin Levesque, Jimmy Soper, Jake Trask, Larry Smith, so much talent that's not available to the Mayhem right now. By the way, I didn't mention this at all in the air. Sammy Wilbur had the opportunity to come back. He was actually on his way back. He was cut by the Tulsa Oilers and had to clear waivers before he returned to Macon. He was excited to come back, and the Rapid City Rush sort of made him an offer last minute, literally as he was on his way to Macon. So Sammy Wilbur got another ECHL chance, so we're very proud of him and happy for him. Mayhem fans may be a little bit disappointed that we would not see number 7 back here at the Macon Centreplex tonight. His services certainly would have helped the Mayhem in this tight outing, but we want the best for our players. We want them to have the best opportunity to play at the highest level, and Sammy Wilbur was given a second chance in the ECHL. So he's now up in Rapid City with another couple of Mayhem signings, Richard Coyne and Brandon Fade, who have sort of enjoyed their time there so far. So we wish the best for Sammy Wilbur, but don't count him out, folks. There's still a pretty good chance at some point this season we see him again, depending on what happens up in the coast for the rest of the campaign. So anyways, that's the news on him. The news on Trask, Levesque, and Smith, the jury's still sort of out on them. Jimmy Soper will be out for a while. Don't count on him coming back for another few weeks. But Trask may be back next weekend. That's what we're hopeful for. Same with Levesque and same with Smith. We'll be sure to keep folks updated on Mayhem social media as often as possible as those situations develop. But in the meantime, that's all for now. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast in spite of the outcome. Once more, the Ice Flyers with 3, the Mayhem with 2. And Macon will head down to Pensacola to square off against the Ice Flyers down at the hangar, the Pensacola Base Center, tomorrow night. Puck drop 7:05 p.m. at Central Standard Time, 8:05 p.m. Eastern. Paul Chestnut's on the call, the voice of the Pensacola Ice Flyers, so enjoy his call tomorrow night on SBHL Live. Till tomorrow night, so long, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your Friday.